Okay, so I think we can get started now. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Rafi Schulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I just want to welcome you all to tonight's webinar. It's really a pleasure to have you from around the world, as we were just talking about. We have people from Israel, we have people from the US, we have people from UK, from around the world, and it's amazing to see everyone come together. Whether you're thinking about making Aliyah, you already live in Israel, you're thinking about buying property in Israel, we are here to help you. We're here to guide you. We're here to give you some great information. As Laura was mentioning earlier, the format of this webinar is a little different. We're actually breaking up the 3-hour webinar into 6 30-minute sessions. So feel free to come and go as you want. I'd just like to take a moment and introduce you to my partner, Laura Itzhaki, who's going to be moderating the webinar with me. And then as we go throughout the webinar, I will introduce you to the different speakers at the beginning of each session. Before we get started, just a few quick things. First of all, we will be recording this, so if you've come late or you have to leave early, don't worry about it. We're not going to hold it against you. We'll send out an email within the next day or two with a link to the recording, so you can fast forward it, you can watch it, you can share it with other people as well, and really make sure that you get all the information that is shared in this webinar. We're also going to have a Q&A session at the end of each session, so go ahead and type your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll try and get to as many questions as we can. Just keep in mind, please, that and realize that we can't get into everyone's situation in this format. It's just we don't have enough time, and it's just not the right place to do it. That's why we want to encourage you to reach out to us and let us know if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one call. We will also, as we go through each session, give you an opportunity to just let us know that you want to schedule one, and then we will go ahead and schedule a one-on-one session, a consultation call with each presenter to make sure that we can really understand what you're looking to do, understand your concerns, and understand your goals, and really figure out a game plan for each one of you. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to take a couple minutes and explain to you who Olim Advisors is and why we host these webinars. So if you go back in time to 2016, Laura and I recognized that making Aliyah is an overwhelming process. It's intimidating. There's a lot of decisions that one has to make. And unfortunately, a lot of people said, you know what, this is just too big for me. It's just too hard of a process for me to go down and to do. And I'm going to maybe do it later, or maybe I just won't do it at all. And so we wanted to do something about that, and we wanted to help. And what we did is created a service where we customize it and personalize it to each one of our clients, and we will pair you with an advisor. So whether it's for Aliyah or for real estate, you will have an advisor that will hold your hand and guide you through the entire process. So if, for example, we're helping you with Aliyah, we will help you at the beginning process to plan it, to figure out which communities are suitable for you, maybe the communities you've never heard of before. Then we'll also help you figure out what schools are suitable. If you have kids, we'll help you find the best schools for your kids. And of course, other things that come up, like what you should ship, what you shouldn't ship, how to find a home beforehand. So there's 101 decisions and questions that people have beforehand. We're here to answer your questions and guide you. And then when you get to Israel, that's when we really roll up our sleeves and we will help you deal with the bureaucracy. So we will help you by telling you exactly what you need to bring. We will schedule the appointments and we will go with you. So the whole process of getting your documentation, getting your benefits, getting your rights won't be that bad, and we can really simplify it and expedite the process. And then, of course, we will also support you on an ongoing basis, because the bottom line is that you're moving to a new culture, it's a new language, and people just have challenges. You have questions, and you don't even know what you don't know. And so what we found is it gives people a lot of peace of mind to have somebody to turn to. And the same thing applies to real estate. If you want to buy property, let's say you're not thinking about making Aliyah, but you want to buy a vacation home or investment home, we can help you identify communities. We can help you identify projects. We can introduce you to our network of professionals who really take care of you, whether it's a realtor, mortgage broker, real estate lawyer, to really make sure that not only do you find the right property that meets your needs, but of course it's within your budget. So the bottom line is, don't do this alone. Let us help you. Let us save you time. Let us reduce the stress, and let us guide you through the process. So with that, I'd like to get started and just start with my topic, the first session, which is Aliyah and real estate tips. So what I did is I actually broke it down into two distinct groups. You have people who are in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We call it, the older group, and they have their own challenges and they have their own concerns. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the younger families, and they have different situations, different goals, different challenges. And so what I wanted to do is just identify a few of the challenges and a few of the concerns, and then give you a few tips, a few pieces of advice for things that you can do to handle these challenges. So the first thing, and one of the biggest concerns, is financial, right? A lot of people who have reached this age are either semi-retired or retired, and they want to make sure that they can afford to move to Israel, that they can afford to live in Israel. So they're worried about cost of living. They're worried about their investments. They're worried about, what they should do to make a living and really feel financially independent and not have the stress of your finances. So that's the one challenge. The second one is healthcare. So people are worried and they want to make sure that they have the right insurance coverage, that they have the right medication, that when they're here in Israel, that they're taken care of. If God forbid something happens, they know who to turn to and that somebody's taking care of them. And then the third challenge is, where do they want to live, right? For many people, this is an amazing opportunity to start a new chapter in their life, right? Maybe they've always wanted to live by the sea, or maybe they've wanted to live in the center of town. Maybe they want to live in northern Israel. This is a great opportunity to do that, to accomplish that. And so thinking about what do they want, which location, and so on and so forth, are some of the factors that go into this decision. So what can people do as they tackle each challenge? So when it comes to the financial one, what we strongly encourage people to do is to put together a budget. It doesn't mean that you have to know exactly to the dollar or to the shekel what your cost is going to be, but have a general sense of what it's going to be like. And if you want, there's actually a really good online calculator where you can plug in some variables and it will give you a really good estimate of your budget. Right, so that's the first thing. You want to make sure that you can afford to live in Israel. And if you want to move to a certain city, you want to make sure that you can afford to move to that city. Once you have this budget, then what you can do is look to lower your expenses. You have the one-time expenses of making Aliyah, right? And then you have your ongoing expenses. A lot of that depends on your lifestyle. Are you going out to eat a lot? Are you buying a car? Are you buying two cars? Are you buying a home? Are you buying versus renting, right? That's a big factor. And of course, one of the biggest factors is the mortgage, right? You're putting down a lot of money up front. And then it's your mortgage payments versus your rental payments. And unlike a lot of countries around the world, in Israel, there's a very big disparity. There's a very big difference between how much your monthly rental is and your monthly mortgage. So that's just a way to lower your expenses, to make sure that your budget is within line, right? Then you have the other side of the equation, which is supplementing your income. Now, a lot of the people we talk to, it's amazing to see that they're not ready to just hang it up. They want to be productive. They want to go ahead and contribute. And so there's a lot of opportunities to supplement your income. It could be as an advisory role. It could be somebody part-time. Maybe it's full-time. But really what it does is it keeps you busy, it keeps you active. And also from a financial point of view, can increase your income, which makes the budget much more beneficial. So that's the first thing. The second thing is healthcare. So it's important that you pick the right HMO, the right Kupat Cholim. The four of them in Israel, and they're all pretty much the same. They're governed by the government, regulated by the government. And so really what you need to do is you want to make sure that you have the adequate coverage. So if it's a doctor in a certain language, whether it's English, French, German, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you pick the right kupa that has doctors who speak your language. Also, if you need special doctors, you want to make sure if it's a cardiologist or if it's a orthopedist or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that the kupa, that the HMO that you choose, have the right doctors or you have enough coverage. The other thing is keep in mind that it's socialized medicine. So on one hand, it's great because you don't pay a lot for your medication, you don't pay a lot for health coverage, but you do need to, in a sense, wait in line. You do need to recognize that it could take you weeks, sometimes months, to make an appointment with a specialist. So just plan ahead, right? Make sure that if you know you need to see a cardiologist in 6 months, don't wait until then. So just make sure that you're prepared for that. And the last concern, the last challenge is, where do you want to live? And there's a little exercise or recommendation that I give to people, which is close your eyes for a few minutes and try and envision what you see when you walk out of the door of your home, of your building. Is it, is it urban where you're seeing buses go by and kids walking to school and, supermarket on the corner? Is it by the beach where you're walking out and you can just take a stroll on the beach? Is it in Jerusalem where you can just, walk out of your building or walk out of your house and you're 10, 15 minutes away from the Kotel? I think, again, it's really a great opportunity for you to create this chapter in your life and to really try and think about what you want. You also need to keep in mind practical factors. If you're still working and you need to be in the center of Israel because that's where there are a lot of employment opportunities, then you want to take that into account. The other thing is like very practical things like transportation, right? Getting around. If it's hard for you to walk around, then you probably don't want to move to an area that is very hilly. So you want to look for areas that are flat. Weather comes into play, the certain types of weather that you like or don't like. These are things that you need to keep in mind. So these are, specific to the group, the 50s plus. And then, as I mentioned, you also have the other group, which are parents who are making Aliyah with kids. And there's a few things to keep in mind here. The first thing is that families are coming with a lot with kids who are much older. If you would have asked me this question 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said if your child's older than 10 years old, maybe you should reconsider. But now there's just so many more programs, so many more schools, so much more support. And we're seeing so many families that are coming with their kids who are 15, 16, 17, even 18 years old. There's schools that can help them with the Bagriyot, which are the matriculation exams. There's schools that can provide support in English. And the bottom line is, if your dream is to make Aliyah and you have older kids, don't let that be a sole reason not to come. It's definitely doable. The other piece of advice that I have is learn Hebrew before you get here. A lot of the people we speak to are making Aliyah a year in advance. In fact, we just signed up a client who's making Aliyah in the summer of 2027, right? So almost 2.5 years from now. And if you're making Aliyah and you have a lot of time, it gives you a great opportunity to learn Hebrew. You don't have to become fluent, but if you can learn basic Hebrew, then you'll find that your klita, that your acclimation and adjustment is that much easier. And there are a lot of ways to do that. You can go onto websites, news websites. You can listen to the news. You can watch videos. You can watch movies. You can watch TV shows. There's a lot of free Hebrew programs. And of course, there are a lot of Upanim, a lot of online schools where you can get involved in very structured programs as well. So definitely take that to heart. The other thing to keep in mind when it comes to schools, schools in Israel are just different. They're not necessarily better or for worse, they're just different. And that means that it's likely that your child might be in a class that has 25 kids, 30 kids, 32 kids, right? And maybe there's only one teacher. The day is going to be shorter. And again, it's something that most kids go through. They'll go from elementary school to middle school to high school. Then they'll do the army or Shirut Leumi. They'll find jobs. And as you know, the economy here is thriving. Kids are doing really well. So I wouldn't worry about it, but it's just important that you set your expectations and that you know what to expect. With that in mind, we also want to encourage you to advocate for your kids, right? Because the classes are bigger, you want to be involved. You want to be in touch with the teacher, with the principal, with the counselor. You want to just let them know that you're here. You want to let them know that you're kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. You want to be active, but not pushy. Like with many things in life, there's a right way of saying things. And so you just want to be on top of things to make sure the kids are getting the support that they deserve. And the last but not least is have a positive attitude. And this is something that Laura and I talk about all the time. If you have a positive attitude, then you'll get through those days, and you're going to have tough days. We're the first ones to acknowledge and to tell people that it's going to take a good few weeks, might take a few months for you to adjust. And that's okay. If you have the positive attitude and you know that tomorrow's going to be better, next week's going to be even better, next month even better, you will get through those tough days. And if you're coming with kids, not only will it help you, but your kids will also notice this. Your kids will also feed off of this, and it will also help them as well. So make sure that you're positive as you go through this journey. The last thing is buying a home in Israel. I want to just share some tips and advice for people who are thinking about doing this. And again, maybe you're not making Aliyah, maybe it's for investment purposes, maybe it's for, for your children, or maybe it's for down the road, but there are a number of things to keep in mind. First of all, the real estate market is different from the US and other countries. There's no central listing, there's no MLS, there's no Zillow website. And so you need to be aware of that and you need to plan for that. So what are some of the main challenges? First question is, where do you move to? Right? Second question is to buy or to rent. Third question is, what's the buying process like? and who can I trust? And so I have a few tips here and things for you to keep in mind for each one. First of all, create a list of preferences. When you're thinking about where you want to move to, like I just mentioned before, make a list of preferences. Do you want it to be an Anglo community, a religious community? Maybe it's a mix between religious and secular. Maybe it's more Israeli, right? Do you want to be by the beach? Do you want to be up north? A big community, a town, right? There are a lot of factors, a lot of choices that go into this. So make a list and try and prioritize them. If you can come up with 8, 10 things that you're looking for, that's great. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll find everything. And what I tell people is if you can find a community that checks 8 boxes out of the 10 or 9 out of the 10, then you're in good shape and you probably found a community that will suit your needs. The second thing is when you're thinking about buying a rent, right? So there's a few factors to go into this. First of all, as I mentioned, you have the budget, right? So you have a large amount of money, which is 25% up to 50% of the cost of the property. So that's something that you need to make sure that you can afford. And then if you are going to take a mortgage, you want to look at your mortgage payments. What does the monthly mortgage payment look like versus rent payment? And again, you want to make sure that you don't get carried away. You know, we help a lot of people who fall in love with an apartment. It could be overlooking the beach in Netanya. And then when they run the numbers, they feel that it's above their budget. And I always encourage them to come back to their budget, you know, within reason. Sometimes there's flexibility, but really not overspend, because then it does create a lot of stress in the long term. The advantage also of renting versus buying, there's kind of two sides of the coin. So if you rent, it gives you the flexibility, right? That if you want to move from year to year, you want to move to a different city, you want to move to a different neighborhood, you have the flexibility of renting. The flip side of that is that you don't have the security. You could get a phone call from the landlord who says, okay, look, you know, I'm just going to increase your rent by 20%, or I'm going to give my apartment to my children, or I'm going to sell it. And now you have to start the process again, start looking and, you know, find another place. Having said that, there are a couple of developers, and one specifically that we work with, that do have a very innovative solution to this, where you can actually lock in rent for 10 years and you know upfront what the increase will be every year. And so it's a very relatively new offer that really appeals to a lot of people who either don't want to buy or can't afford to buy. So if you're interested in this, let me know. The other thing, as I mentioned, when it comes to the buying process, there's no central listing. So you have to keep that in mind. What that means is that you want to make sure you work with realtors who are very well connected within each city, so that they can find all the different properties that are available to you. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you find something, if it's priced right in a good area, it's going to sell quickly. And so you want to have your ducks in order. You want to have everything in place. So when you do find something, you can put an offer and you can move forward. So things like, for example, getting pre-approval on a mortgage, figuring out how to transfer your funds, hiring a real estate lawyer in Israel, because in all likelihood, you'll probably need one. And so, excuse me, you want to have all of these things in place so that you can move forward. And the last thing is, because the real estate market here is different, there are opportunities that you might not be familiar with. For example, you can buy on paper, which means that the building isn't built yet. It might be built in 2 or 3 years. And there are a few benefits to that. First of all, you'll probably get a discount over what the price would be once it's fully built. The second benefit is that very often you only have to put down about 20%, and you put down the remainder when the building's built. So from a cash flow point of view, it could help. And the other benefit is that you can actually get to customize your apartment if you get in early enough. Some developers will do that as well. So just keep in mind, there's a lot of opportunities like buy on paper. If this is something that you're thinking about doing, make sure that you reach out to me. And the last point is that who can you trust, right? And there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of individuals who are in the real estate market here. A lot of them are great, but unfortunately, a lot of them aren't so great. And so you really have to be careful when you work with developers, when you work with realtors, when you work with mortgage brokers. You want to get recommendations. You want to make sure that people have worked with them, and you want to make sure, and this is very important, you want to make sure that they have experience working with Anglos, with Olim, and with foreign buyers, because there are a lot of nuances, tax benefits, and so on and so forth, that you want to make sure that you can take advantage of if you're entitled to that. And the same thing applies to developers. Many of the developers are bank guaranteed, so that means if they go out of business, the bank steps in and makes your investment whole. So if you are, if you are thinking about this, make sure you reach out to us. We want to help you figure out where you should buy and who you should work with. Like I mentioned, we have an exclusive network of amazing individuals, people who go above and beyond to help you and guide you through the process. And of course, we will be involved as well. Okay, with that, I just want to finish up and just let you know that we have a lot of free resources. So a lot of people that reach out to us are looking for free information. So we have a great Facebook group that has almost 10,000 members now that you can ask questions. We have a very active WhatsApp group, and we have a couple of guides from people making Aliyah and for people who are making real estate. So I'll put up my contact information here. Feel free to reach out to me. What I also would recommend that you do now is if you're interested in Aliyah or if you're thinking about buying a home, even if it's not in the immediate future, let's schedule a time to call and we'll make it super easy for you. If you just want to click on the Q&A button at the bottom, the question and answer bottom, just click on that and just type in me, M-E, and that way when we, at the end of this webinar, we'll go through the entire list and we'll see that you want to talk to me. We'll schedule time that's convenient for you and we'll help you figure out what you're interested in, what you're focused on, and how we can help you. So thank you very much. It was great to present to you. And now we're going to open up to questions and answers. Laura, any questions there that popped up?
There's no question. Someone's just asking if they can buy. I'm not sure.
So the answer is yes, you can buy. It depends, of course, where you're from, and there aren't restrictions, but it comes down to cost. And foreign buyers, of course, can buy. You have to go through the process of finding the right property, and of course, opening a bank account. And there's a process to go through. But the short answer is yes, of course, you can buy. And in fact, many people from Israel and around the world are buying. There's a question here about how far in advance should people start planning their Aliyah. And the advice that I give people is that it's never too early, right? Even if you're not ready, maybe you're waiting for your kid to graduate high school, or maybe you want to retire. It's still good to start the process. Reach out to Nefesh B'Nefesh. Let them know if you're from the US. Let them know that you want to make Aliyah. And then start gathering your documents. You'll need documents that the Jewish agency is going to require, like your birth certificate, a letter from the rabbi, and so on and so forth. And so if you think about if you think about making Aliyah, even if it's a year, 2 years down the road, start the process and start talking to people, start getting feedback, and start understanding what the process is like. So that way, when you are ready to move forward, you don't have to scramble. You don't have to get things going so quickly. It's done in a much more organized fashion. Okay. There's a question here about getting mortgages. And if anyone has other questions, just go ahead and type the questions in to the Q&A, and then we have a few more minutes. We can go through some of the questions here. So when it comes to mortgages, foreign buyers get up to 50% of the value of the property, and Israeli buyers can get up to 75%, right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind. You can apply for a mortgage in Israel, and the process actually is relatively straightforward. We work with an excellent mortgage broker who guide you through the process. And for many people, it's an opportunity to take advantage of it. Because one of the things I think we've all seen is that prices in Israel tend to go up, right? And so a lot of times people will wait, and then they regret it because the property that they saw or the development they saw 3 years ago has really appreciated in value. So what we tell people is if you can afford to buy something, move forward now. And don't worry about the fact that you're not here. We can be your eyes and ears and the legs on the ground. We can help you find properties. And then we do recommend that once we've narrowed down to maybe 3 or 4 properties, that you fly over to check out what we found, and then you can put an offer on the property that you like. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to go ahead and stop my sharing so I can just pull up. Any questions to look out for? So Martin, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is that buying properties or making Aliyah? If you can clarify that. You mentioned that you're looking at Madlan. So Martin mentioned this website that has information. There's a number of websites that have information, and it's a good place to start. It'll give you a good sense of what the prices are like, but you have to be careful because a lot of times realtors will do the bait and switch. What they'll do is that um, they'll put up a property, and then when you call them, they say, "Oh, sorry, that property is sold, and there's nothing available, but let me show you something else," right? And so just be mindful of that. Also, a lot of times the listings aren't accurate, so you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who can guide you and can really make sure you're getting what you see. So there's a
And
question
there's a
here
question
about.
here about a mortgage, a specific question about a mortgage. So any questions at all you have about that, you can email us and we can introduce you to a great mortgage broker and he can answer all your questions, your personal questions.
Right. And just to answer the question, just quickly, you can get a mortgage up until the age of 80, right? So if you're in the 60s, 70s, just know that there are options to get mortgages. It would depend, of course, on your income and depends on, your financials, but there are options for you to get mortgages and reach out to us. Okay. Okay, everyone. So it's been a pleasure presenting to you today. I really look forward to talking to you. And like I said, just reach out to us and let us help you and answer any questions that you might have. Take care, everyone. The next presentation is going to be with a partner that we have in the US. So for those of you who are interested in buying property, we've partnered up with a realtor in the US who can be your somebody who can guide you locally. And so Adam's going to join us momentarily and talk about his company. If you're welcome to stay on, you can come and go, and hopefully we will see you again later today. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us. Rafi Adam's already on, so you can just add him on as a panelist.
Great.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, Adam. How you doing?
Hi, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
Good.
Good.
We can start in a
Good to
couple of
see you.
minutes and just get things set up here.
Anybody there watch NFL football, American football tonight or no?
So I'm a Giants fan, so watching the Eagles and the Commanders is not exactly fun.
Yeah, I'm right there beside you, my friend. Been going to Giant games since I was a little kid.
Okay, let's just share the presentation here. Just make sure everyone can see it. Laura, is the presentation up?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, we'll just get started in a minute or so. Just let everybody who wants to join the session join us, and then we will get started. If you just joined us, please take a moment and just click on the Q&A button on the bottom and just let us know where you're from. We just have people from around the country and around the world, and we love to see where everyone's from. So if you don't mind doing that. If you have any questions to Adam, feel free to type those in, and then at the end of the session, we will have a few minutes for questions and answers, and we can go through and discuss those. We'll get started in a minute.
Oh, we've got some Southern California and Boston. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, I think we can get started. So hi to those of you who just joined us. My name is Rafi Schulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I'd like to introduce you to my partner, Laurie Tzchaki, who's helping me moderate the presentation tonight, and also to Adam Kaplan, who is an executive at Renaissance Realty Consulting Group in the US. Thanks very much, guys, for joining us tonight. Before we get started, I just want to briefly explain to you who we are and why Olim Advisors hosts these webinars. So when Laura and I started Olim Advisors about 8 years ago, we recognized that buying a home and making Aliyah in Israel are challenging. Many people who are looking at doing this from afar just feel like there's too many decisions to be made. It's too overwhelming. And so unfortunately, a lot of people just give up and say, you know what, that's just not for me. And what we want to let you know is that we have a solution. What we do is that we provide a very personalized, a very high-end concierge service where we pair you with an advisor, whether it's an Aliyah advisor or a real estate advisor, and we will guide you through the entire process. So whether it's looking to buy a property in Israel, you might have a certain budget in mind. You can reach out to us and say, hey, look, this is my budget. Can you help me find the right community, the right project, the right people to work with? And the answer is absolutely yes. Right? And the same thing applies when it comes to Aliyah. We will guide you through the entire process from beginning of finding communities, finding schools, helping you figure out what you need to do beforehand. And then once you get to Israel, we'll help you deal with bureaucracy, get all of that squared away, and then provide you with ongoing support. So in essence, what we've developed here is a one-stop shop for Anglos, for Olim, and for real estate buyers. So with that, Adam, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about Renaissance and how you help people.
Great. Rafi, thank you so much. Very informative. I listened to your presentation previously, and there's definitely some cross-pollination about some of the things that you were speaking about and what I was planning on talking about, but I'll do my best to just fill in the blanks, I guess. So my name is Adam Kaplan. I'm the Executive Director of Renaissance Realty Consulting Group. We are a New York-based real estate brokerage firm. I myself actually am a licensed New York State attorney, although I no longer practice law, thankfully. Sorry for any of those lawyers out there. I've been working in real estate for over 20 years at this point. I consider myself really to be a problem solver. I kind of go above and beyond what typically your regular agents do to help my clients make sure that they're making good decisions based off of what I know that it is they're looking for, which is typically from the intake information that I've been able to extract from them, and ultimately make sure that those deals stay on the tracks until they finally close. Renaissance Realty, we're part of a family real estate office, combined experience of well over 100 years. It was started by a couple of brothers that were fix and flippers buying multifamily properties and flipping them. They eventually started a title company in the United States. They provide title in all 50 states in the US at this point. They also have a lending platform, an acquisition development arm, a real estate brokerage, which I run, and a commercial mortgage brokerage, which I also oversee. So we have tentacles going in all different directions, so we truly understand the real estate marketplace extremely well, and regardless of what someone's need might be, we have a vertical or a relationship that in all likelihood can assist, which kind of helped bring us into this relationship with Olim Advisors. Between the two of us, we kind of act as the US arm to help quarterback all of these deals, to help anyone looking to acquire property in Israel through our various relationships, help them to locate the properties, find the best properties available, help with the financing side, and basically answer all the questions that you're ultimately going to need in order to ultimately purchase those properties. There's a lot of pitfalls you can potentially run across, and we try and avoid those to the best of our abilities and advise you well ahead of time so that you're prepared moving forward. Some of the things that you should kind of be aware of when you're looking to buy properties in Israel. We're trying to provide as seamless of a transition to buy those properties as possible. There is a big difference between US marketplace and the Israeli marketplace, and between Olim Advisors understanding and our relationships and understandings. We really help, again, make that as smooth as possible for all of these purchasers. Through these relationships that we've developed, we're able to find and curate the best-in-class properties for all of our buyers. It's very important to note that there is no equivalent to like an MLS or Zillow or anything like that in the Israeli marketplace. So there's basically the equivalent of off-market properties that you're going to have to find to be able to present to those people. So having a reputable relationship with a reputable agent or broker that can bring those properties to your attention is of the utmost importance at the end of the day. You're going to want to obviously figure out where you want to be. We're going to help you to cater that based off of the intake information we're going to take to you in terms of finding out where you want to ultimately end up purchasing. We have a comprehensive support services that we provide that's really from beginning to end, really advising in terms of the financial ramifications, helping put you together with legal practitioners, logistics, everything from beginning to end, A to Z. The reality is you're looking to purchase property in a country other than the one that you're currently living in. It's a big undertaking. There's a lot of pitfalls, a lot of mistakes that can be made, and working with the right team and advisors will help you to avoid making those mistakes that are ultimately going to cost you time, energy, money, and just agita in general. We have an established network between Olim Advisors and ourselves with trusted professionals, with the realtors, lawyers, mortgage brokers, to really help you from A to Z. Again, make sure that you're working with the right guy in the right place to make sure that you ultimately are going to have a successful transaction. Some important tips that you might want to be aware of when purchasing in Israel is, again, the Israel marketplace. It operates very differently than the United States. It's very unique. From a legal perspective, a cultural perspective, there's market considerations, there's local trends, regional differences, understanding the market, understanding how to find properties in that market, all are incredibly important. So you're going to want to do a lot of research on that end, and obviously we're going to help you as much as you want. In terms of knowing your investment goals, it's another very important aspect. Are you just buying this as a vacation home? Are you buying this as a potential rental property? Are you buying this to be a permanent residence for yourself? Clarifying what the actual purchase is going to be and what your plans are from a long-term perspective are going to impact the financial ramifications and alter advice that we may give you in one shape or another before you start moving forward with any given transaction. When buying in Israel, you should consider buying on paper. It's not always going to be the right case, but it's certainly something to consider. It's basically buying something during its pre-construction phase, which offers significant benefits. You can get it at a discount price. There's a lower initial deposit of usually about 20%, which locks in the price for that property while it's being built. So if it takes 2 or 3 years for that actual structure to be built, and that property is appreciating during those 2 or 3 years, you're still locked in at that price that you originally locked in at from that 20% that you put down to begin with, and you'll have greater return on that investment on the back end. There's advantages you can take advantage from a tax perspective. Foreign buyers generally are going to pay about 8%, anywhere from 8 to 12% in the purchase tax. There's ways to reduce this rate to as little as a half a point or 0%, depending on the property's price and other factors. How the difference between whether it is in pre-construction or it's an existing property are going to be factors there. When you relocate to Israel, if it's going to be a permanent residence in Israel, all of these are factors that can potentially impact the tax consequences of making these purchases. And again, we would explain all of this to you in great detail so that you really can make informed decisions on how you want to move forward. And lastly, one of the things that I would really want to say is you should really have all your ducks in a row. It's kind of like a standard phrase that you hear all the time, but especially when you're doing something overseas, it's a big undertaking. It's going to be a large overall investment for most people. You're going to want to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. Get your mortgage pre-approved. Make sure you're working with either a mortgage broker or a bank that you're comfortable with. That you have a real estate attorney, not just your friend's brother's attorney that does trust and estates. That's not the guy that you're going to want to have handling the transaction. You want to have all your documentation in place. So that when you do find the right property, you're in a position to pounce, act quickly, so you don't lose out on that opportunity and somebody else steals it out from underneath you. Again, we're here along with Olim Advisors to help you in any way, shape, or form that we can to make sure that it is a seamless transaction for you so that you'll have the greatest level of success to achieve your real estate goals from both a personal perspective and a financial perspective. Again, my name is Adam Kaplan. My contact information is listed there. Happy to help out in any way we can. And I look forward to talking with all of you and helping you.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
So there's a question here about when you buy property in Israel, if you only have a 99-year lease. And it's an interesting situation. And the answer is usually not, but depending where. Like I know, especially in Jerusalem, there's certain situations. If the land was owned by the church, then you don't technically own it. So like with any country, you want to make sure that you do the research, you do the due diligence, and of course work with a lawyer to make sure that you own it, and it's not just a lease on land that down the road you or your family will have to give it up. So it is a good question, and this is just an example of why you should work with a lawyer who can make sure that you are not being taken advantage of. One of the questions that we get a lot is when people want to make Aliyah, very often they want to sell in the US and then they want to buy. And I think, that's one of the reasons why we've partnered here, is that people ask if they can, in essence, work with us to handle both sides of the transaction. And the answer is yes. That's one of the benefits of working with Adam and his company. And, it's really, if you need to get financing in the US, then Adam can help you. And in essence, you're working with one team that can handle both sides of the transaction. So it's just something to keep in mind. And a lot of it comes down to timing, right? Sometimes, for example, I know in the UK, if you sell your property, if you sell your property 1 year after you move to Israel, then you don't have to pay taxes on that sale. And so a lot of times it is an issue of timing. And so, there's definitely a benefit here. If you're thinking about selling a property in the US, we can help you in the US, and we can also help you here in Israel. There's a question here about farms and ranch properties. So it's not really an area that we get into. We focus primarily on the cities where there's a lot of inventory. Also, that's where a lot of people are moving to. So Janet, to answer your question, we don't really focus on farms and on ranch properties. There are, I guess, websites where you could go and you could look for just land if you want to build something yourself. But that's one area that we typically do not get involved with.
Although maybe we should. I think that's the second week in a row we had that question. So
yeah, for many people it is the idyllic lifestyle, right? Where you have a farm up north, and you have your cows grazing, and you planting your fruits and vegetables, and you're living off the land. So yeah, maybe we'll find something. We can all move. We can start new kibbutz. We can do
there you
that.
go.
Okay, let's see what else.
There's a question here about the tax difference between purchasing in advance from the US and after Aliyah. That's a question that comes up a lot.
Sure. So as Adam mentioned, if you are a foreign buyer, right, a foreign resident, sorry, you could even be, if you're an Israeli living in the US, you're considered a foreign resident. And so the tax at minimum is 8%. And depending on the price of the property, it can be up to 12% purchase tax, right? If you buy property once you make Aliyah, so there's a couple of periods, time frame that you have to keep in mind. If you want to buy something before you make Aliyah to Israel, in essence, you have 1 year if the building or if your apartment or home is already built. So you pay up front the 8%, then you make Aliyah, and then within the next, let's say, 6 months, 12 months, you will apply for a refund and only pay either nothing or 0.5%. It could be a little higher depending on the property, but up, I think, until 6 million shekel, which is about I don't know, about $1.5 million. You're paying a lot less. So that's one time frame, is the year. You buy and then you move within a year. And the other time frame is if it's something that's new construction. So you buy it and it's being built, then in essence you have 3 years from the time that you signed the contract to move. So you pay up front and then you can get your money reimbursed. And then the third time frame is if you already made Aliyah, you have 7 years from your Aliyah date to take advantage of this. Now, you have to keep in mind that this has to be your only property that you own in Israel. So if you own other properties, then you would have to talk to a lawyer and see if you can structure it in a way so you can take advantage of it. But those are the 3 time frames that you should keep in mind. Okay, also, if you want to have a one-on-one discussion, I know that for many people, they don't want to open up in this forum. So just go ahead and type in the Q&A box, just type the word me, M-E, and then we will get back to you later this week, and we'll find out when it's convenient for you. And there's no commitment, there's no cost. A lot of times people just have questions, and that's why we don't even call it a consultation session or call. It's more of an explanation call, just to talk about the lay of the land, how things work, answer questions, and maybe 2, 3, 5 years down the road, you want to use that information. That's perfectly fine. That's what we're here for. So just feel free to just type me into the Q&A, and we will get back to you. Okay, we'll give it a couple of minutes, see if anyone has any other questions. If not, we will end the session and we'll start the next one at top of the hour. Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind, how many people here are thinking about buying property in Israel, let's say in the next 12 months? So if you don't mind, just either raising your hand or just say that you're looking to buy. I'm just curious to know the audience. A lot of times we have a mix between people that already own and people who are looking to buy. So okay, 1 to 2 years. Anyone else? Is anybody else here that's interested? And again, I think when we talk to people, a lot of times people are unsure, and what we find is that people don't necessarily have a definitive time frame. They want to start looking, and then when they find something they like, then kind of the process picks up. So if you're unsure, just write down unsure. That's perfectly fine as well. We can definitely help. Okay, there's somebody here that's looking to buy an investment, and it's interesting with the investment, just to bring up a point that a lot of times the intent of the purchase is what's important here. So if, for example, you want to buy and move and live in, then you want to buy it in an area that you'll be comfortable living. But for people who just want it as a pure investment, there are certain cities that are much more Israeli that they might not be as suitable for English speakers, for Anglos, but there's a lot more upside potential, right? A lot of projects that maybe are a little bit more out of the center. And so that's an important point to keep in mind. If you're looking for investment, then let us know, and that kind of will go down a different path than somebody who's looking to buy for them as a vacation home or as a place for residence. Just for you to keep in mind, if you're looking for an investment, there's a beautiful project up north that actually our family, Laura and I, our family bought into a couple of years ago. It's on this beautiful, unspoiled beach up north. That's just, we call it heaven on earth. It just, we go there and we relax. And prices there are a lot more affordable than Netanya and Tel Aviv and Ashkelon. So if you're looking for investment, or if you want to come to Israel and just sit on the beach, then let us know. It's just beautiful, and we happily can talk to you about that as well. Okay, so it seems here that there are quite a few people who are interested. A few people that have asked to schedule calls, so we'll be happy to do that as well. Okay, Adam, I think with that, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. And, for those of you who want to stick around, feel free to stick around. We'll start in about 10 minutes. So thanks very much, Adam. Enjoy the football and keep warm, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, my
Thank
pleasure.
you so much,
You're
Adam.
welcome.
Thank you for joining
All
us.
righty, guys.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Okay, we're going to start in about 10 minutes or so. We're going to have Avraham join us to talk about the legal aspects of buying. So very, it really dovetails well with what we were just talking about. There are really 3 things that you should keep in mind. One is the legal process of buying, of course, the actual search. And then if you're looking for a mortgage, you want to have this information at this point in time so that you can make decisions. So we've asked him to join us, and he's going to share some advice and a number of tips for you to keep in mind. So sit tight and we'll get started soon. If you, in the meantime, if you want to leave and come back, just keep the webinar open, and we'll start in about 10 minutes.
And at any time you can send an email and ask for a free consultation, whether it's with us from Olim Advisors or Adam or anyone else of the presenters today. We'll be happy to spend time with you, explain things to you, answer your questions privately. So we'd love to hear from you.
So somebody was actually asking about this development that I mentioned up north. So yeah, it's part of Nahariya, but it's kind of separate. It's in essence a 5-minute drive from Nahariya. So for those of you who know Nahariya, it has the hospitals and the restaurants and the supermarkets. But this place is literally on the beach. It's just you walk out of the building, and it's a 5-minute walk to the beach, and it's just beautiful there. It's quiet, it's clean, and it's right on the train line. So you can hop on the train and you can be in Tel Aviv in 2 hours, and you can go from, there, take buses to Jerusalem. So a lot of people are now starting to hear about it. So prices are starting to creep up, but so far it's something that we haven't found anywhere else, where you can get a beachfront property for much more affordable price than a lot of the other cities that are along the sea. So if you're interested in getting more information, just reach out to us. and we'll be happy to. There's a short video that we can show you so you can see what it's all about and just share with you more information about the community. If you just joined us, if you want to just introduce yourself, just let us know where you're from. It's just really good to see how there are people from around the country and around the world. We're coming together to talk about making Aliyah, to look into buying property, and people that are living in Israel that just are looking for more information. People are always looking for advice and tips. And so that's really our goal here at Olim Advisors, is to help people, no matter what your journey is like.
Thank you for joining us. And I'd love if you could write here if you're staying on for the next session or hopping off. If you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, if you found it useful, if there's other topics that you want us to have another webinar, because Rafi does organize his webinars at least once a month, if not more. So let us know what else you want to hear about. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this.
Right, one of the webinars we're going to schedule either in February or probably in February is for people who are in 50s plus, and we're going to talk about healthcare and talk about finding different communities, different projects, and so there's a number of considerations that go into that, and we want to have an informative session. We'll also have some of our clients who have made Aliyah in their 50s, 60s, and 70s to talk about how they've prepared and their experiences here, going through the war and everything. It's just amazing to me. It's amazing to see people who are still making Aliyah with everything that's going on. And thank God lately it's been quiet, and please God it will continue. But just throughout the year, throughout the 15 months, people are still coming, people are still living, people are still thriving. And that's the bottom line, is that there's no place like Israel, and we want to help you come home.
Absolutely. To see what all of our clients have done here, the amount of volunteering that everyone's done, no matter what age you are, where they're living is incredible. It's absolutely inspiring.
See that Abraham's joining us. I'll just
Yeah. Yeah, he's been on. You can make him panelist.
Yeah. Hi, Abraham. Just yeah.
One second, I'm trying to arrange the right lights, and 1 second, give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine. We're a bit early, so take your time.
Yeah.
Just curious, how many people that are on the webinar are actually living in Israel right now? If you want to just type me if you're in Israel.
And how many of you have been on a webinar about beforehand? I see some faces, some names that I recognize, which is great, and some new names. So it's really good as well. Join as many times as you can, as many times as you want. There's a lot of topics, and let us know if there are other topics that you want us to talk about. Just send me an email to rshulman@olimadvisors.com, and you can just let us know, and we'll be happy to create webinars to share information to guide you through the process. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. There's a lot of people that registered, so we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to join us. So just sit tight. If you just joined us, let us know where you're from. If you're from Israel, what city, or if you're from around the world. We have people here from the UK, people from the US. We've had people really from South America, from Eastern Europe, from all over the place. Avram, you just want to check your mic and just make sure it's working.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, just
Perfectly.
very good.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Went from dark to light.
Mhm. you just joined us, we're just going to get started in about 4 or 5 minutes. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can go ahead and type them into the Q&A button at the bottom. We will have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to type them in now, and then we can get to as many of them as we can at the end of the presentation.
Some interesting questions, Rafi. On the Aliyah benefit of the 10 years delay in taxes.
I see that.
I don't think we've ever done, I mean, not just based on that, but that's a great topic to discuss, more financial planning and specifically. Okay, definitely. We will definitely put that on our list.
Well, actually, Sherry, if you want to stick around, we are doing the speaker later today is a tax advisor, so he can answer that. I think he actually has one of his tips specifically on that. So we're going to be doing that in about 2 hours. Let's see.
Yeah, Steve Ettinger's at 9 o'clock.
All right, so 2 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock our time. If you want to
Sorry.
join then, that's one of the topics that he's going to be discussing. If you just joined us, we're going to start in 2 or 3 minutes. It's great to have you here. If you want to just take a moment and introduce yourself, let us know where you're from. That'd be wonderful, and we'll get started in a couple minutes.
Just to say, Rafi, so after Avram speaking, then we're going to have Mayan from Gvahim, correct?
Correct. Bahim is an amazing organization that helps people with their job search and placement. They can help with writing the resumes. So she's going to join us and talk about all the different services they provide and some specific tips and advice. I know that's something that is very relevant, not just to people who are making Aliyah, but also to people who are living here. People change jobs. People are looking for new opportunities. So we're very excited to have her join us as well.
And then afterwards is Steve Ettinger from Mass America, an accountant. So if anyone has any financial questions or questions for accountant, to stay on. And last but not least is Jonathan Gross from Mizrahi Bank.
Mizrahi is one of the big banks, and he's really talking about, you can talk about the different services that they provide. You know, a lot of people have heard about the banks and the horror stories, but really things have become a lot better, and there's some, you know, really good banks, and Mizrahi and Jonathan specifically will be happy to talk about that and, of course, help you with anything that you need help with after this. Okay, we'll just give another minute or so, and then we'll get started. If you just joined us, if you want to just introduce yourself and let us know where you're from, that'll be great. Okay, so let's get started. So hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. If you're just joining us, my name is Rafi Shulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I'd just like to introduce you to the two people who are joining me now. First of all, my partner, Laura Itzhaki, who's going to help moderate the webinars and just make sure that everything runs smoothly. And Avram Levinsky, who's the real estate lawyer that we work with. So thank you, both of you, for joining us. I just want to very briefly explain to everyone who we are and why we're holding these webinars. So Laura and I, when we started Olim Advisors, we recognized that making Aliyah is not a simple process. There are a lot of decisions that have to be made. And unfortunately, a lot of people feel like the process is too strenuous, too stressful, too big, and they just give up and they say, you know what, not now, or maybe never. And the same thing applies to buying property in Israel, especially after October 7th. We've seen such a spike in people in interest from people who just want to have a home in Israel just in case, or maybe as an investment or some sort of connection to Israel. And so what we did is we created a very personalized service where we connect you with one of our advisors, whether it's an Aliyah advisor or a real estate advisor, who's going to guide you through the entire process. They're going to hold your hand and make sure that you know exactly what to expect and really reduce a lot of the stress, a lot of the anxiety that goes with the process. We start at the very beginning. So if you're thinking about making Aliyah in a near future down the road, we'll help you identify communities and homes and schools. We'll tell you if you should bring a car, not bring a car, how you handle a lot of decisions beforehand. And then when you get to Israel, we'll really help you tackle the bureaucracy so it doesn't become this nightmare. We'll simplify the process, we will expedite the process, and we'll make it something that really is a breeze. And then, of course, just provide you with ongoing support, because the reality is when you're in a different culture, in a different country, you're going to need help. And we want to make sure that you feel comfortable turning to somebody who can guide you and help you. And the same thing applies to real estate. We'll help you find the right communities, the right projects, and probably most importantly, we will introduce you to the right people, people like Abraham, who will go above and beyond to guide you and to help you. And it's not just about closing the deal. It's about making sure that you can realize this dream that you might have of buying a house in Israel, buying something that fits your needs, that's within your budget, and really making sure that you're very happy with the process. So the bottom line is, if you're thinking about making Aliyah, if you're thinking about buying a home in Israel, come to Olim Advisors. We, in essence, have become a one-stop shop for Olim, for Anglos, and for real estate, and we'd be happy to help you. So with that, Abraham, I'm going to turn it over to you. And one thing I just want to remind everybody, we will be doing a Q&A session at the end. So go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A box and we'll get to them. We're also going to be recording this. So if you've missed some of it, we'll send you a recording and we'll have our contact information. And if you want to schedule a one-on-one call with Abraham, which I strongly encourage you, if you have questions, then just type me in the question and answer box. So just click on the button, type the word ME, and then we will reach out to you in the next few days and schedule a call at a time that's convenient for you. So with that, Avram, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafi. Thank you so much. And good evening here. And I guess afternoon, good afternoon to all of you, wherever you are. Really nice to speak with you and to be here part of this conference and from this webinar. And I wish that in the short time we have, we'll be able to assist you as much as possible for now. And as Rafi said, anyone that has more deeply questions or any other question you may have, you can contact me directly. The contact information will appear a bit later on. I will start with a short introduction. Who are we? What are the services we provide? And how do we assist Olim, Anglos, and foreigner buyers? So as Rafi mentioned, I have a firm, thanks God, we have a firm. And what our firm does is we help people from abroad to buy properties in Israel. We help people, from England, from USA, from South Africa, from many, many countries to buy properties in Israel. And what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve is not only to be your lawyer in Israel, which is definitely really, really important, but we realize that the process needs someone that will be like your representative here. In a way, someone that will pay the fees for you, someone that will pay all the payments to the seller, someone that will do many things that are not only the legal things. For instance, open up a bank account, sign on your behalf the contract, which again, lawyers shouldn't do that in general. Lawyers checking the contract for you and telling you you are good to sign. But here we realize that you need also some kind of representation in a way that someone will be on spot for you on the ground and will sign the contract for buying the property. Someone that will sign, if you're taking a loan, the loan agreement for you. It is a lot of things. I can even tell you someone that will change the meters, electricity, water, gas, we also do that. So we're trying to do one thing, which is to take your hand until the time you're getting the keys, okay? Which is much more than just like normal lawyer should do. And this is the reason why we do that, because we designate our office for people from abroad and people that wants to do Aliyah. We're trying to really make all the bureaucracy as simple as possible for you. And this is the introduction. This is who we are, and this is what we're trying to do. Thank you, Rafi. Okay, I would love to, in the next few minutes that we have, to give you some tips about some interesting things. And I believe we can start with the purchase tax. Purchase tax that had currently, it was the previous slide, had currently a new legislation. That's fine, Rafi. The new update legislation that started on 15th of August 2024. And this is because of the war in Gaza. And I want to say one word before I'm going to explain that. The war in Gaza, as you know, is a very hard war, very difficult for all of us. And the government and the parliament decided that they want to encourage people to doing Aliyah. And when we go to the numbers in a few minutes, you will see that the purchase tax is going to be very, very minimal for new Olim, much more than what it used to be in the past. It is almost, I would say, a joke. Okay, you will see it in a few minutes. And the idea to do that is in order to allow people from abroad to buy properties, if they do Aliyah, to buy properties as much as possible, because we realize that, you know, the anti-Semitic outside Israel is crazy, even though we also suffer here from Hamas, but we have the capability to defend ourselves. So the idea of the law was help people to come to buy properties in Israel. Short, to make it short. I will speak now about the tachlis. Tachlis in Hebrew, it's also an important word to understand what actually is the tax discount. So let's start with point number one, purchase tax for Israelis. When I'm saying for Israelis, what I mean is for people who lives in Israel. I'm not only speaking about Israel, but people who lives in Israel. Someone who lives in Israel, like me, has two options. If this is the sole apartment I'm buying, I don't have any other apartment, I will pay a very good purchase tax, very cheap, and I will have a very serious discount. This is first property discount. This is how we called it. The other option we have, if I'm living in Israel, is, and I have already one property, is to pay 8% from the total amount. 8% from the total amount of that will be called second property tax. This is very, very expensive. So these are the two options for anyone who lives in Israel, either a very cheap purchase tax, if this is the first property, or 8%, which is very, very expensive, if this is the second property. Now I'm going to the second line, purchase tax for foreigners. The law said, the legislation says, if you are living abroad, the legislation and the law will look on you and says you are investors. Therefore, you will pay 8%, just like Israeli who buying his second property. So I hope that's clear. Anyone who lives abroad should pay 8%. Any Israeli or anyone who lives in Israel and buying second property will pay 8%. So that's the story. So according to that, all of you should pay 8%. So now we'll go to understand why you are not going really to pay 8%. And this is in the next slide, we'll see the Aliyah, the new tax for new Olim. So the principle is, as we explained, just give me a second, please, sorry. Sorry. So we spoke about the 8% of the people from abroad, foreigners. Now I would like to speak with you about why you are not going to pay 8%. The principle of the tax for new Olim is, if you are really going to do Aliyah, and this is your target, and you are really going to do that, and you have no other properties in Israel, you will get a very, very, very good discount. We'll see this in the next slide. And I want to say now the principles, the conditions. Let's look in the end, in the bottom of the slide. What are the conditions? We have only two conditions, so it's not so much complicated like in the past. The two conditions are like that. Number one, the time frame. We can see in the bottom of the slide, you need to do it within the right time frame. When I'm saying to do this, I mean you need to buy the property within the right time frame. What is the time frame? You need to buy 1 year before Aliyah or 7 years after making Aliyah. So your time frame is 8 years, 1 year before you do Aliyah. If you still live in New York, you still live in Brooklyn, wherever you are, you have 1 year after you're signing the purchase agreement, you have 1 year to do Aliyah. Or if you already did Aliyah, you have 7 years. In the first 7 years from the time you did Aliyah, you can you can have this time frame, and you still can enjoy and be eligible for that tax relief, tax discount. I wrote also that in some occasions, you will have even 3 years period to your Aliyah to purchase the place. So again, about the time frame, this is in roughly the time frame. And after we spoke about the time frame, let's speak about the second condition, which is very, very simple. The second condition says that this should be your sole property in Israel. Very simple. You are going to do Aliyah within the right time frame. You have no other properties in Israel. You can enjoy a very, very good purchase tax. And now we will go to see the numbers, which are ridiculous. So let's look in the most left side. The most left side, reflecting the price of the apartment that you're going to buy. And I give some examples that you will be able to understand. Number one, how big, how huge is the advantage from the old legislation? And number two, how big and huge is it the advantage from any other Israeli that has no properties? So let's start from the beginning. If you are buying around 2 million shekel, this is the first line, around 2 million, you will see that you already have very nice discount from the old legislation. You can see that the difference is around 10,000 shekel. And you can see also that any other Israeli just like you, okay? Now, if we go to 3 million shekel, let's look in that line. You will see that any Israeli that this is his first property purchase will pay, not first property purchase, to be more accurate, this is his sole property, the purchased property is his sole property. He will pay 45,000 shekel, more or less. And look in the most right side, new Ole will pay 5,000 shekel. Completely ridiculous. And again, in the middle, you can see the old legislation, 60,000 shekel. Let's take another example. If you pay 6.5, if you buy a property in the budget of 6,500,000 shekel, any Israeli that this purchased property will be his sole property, will pay around 233,000 shekel. And look on that, it's unbelievable. Look in the most right side, the new Ole will pay 22,000 shekel. It is, I guess we need to do the calculation, over 90% discount from any Israeli. And if you look on the old legislation, also a huge and amazing discount. After we exceed 6.5, then the calculation became a bit more complicated, but still you can see that even in 8 million, you still have a very nice discount. And also later on, in any amount you will buy until around 12 million, you will still have the benefit. Or maybe even, I don't remember, maybe even 30. But the idea that here you saw the numbers and they are magnificent. Okay? You can go to the next slide, Rafi. Thank you. Okay, now any one of you, I'm sure you hear in Olim Advisors, part of you maybe already did Aliyah, part of you already planning now to do Aliyah. So if you already did Aliyah in the past, you need to talk to me and I will explain you if it will be better for you to use the new legislation or the old wording, even though we saw in the previous slide that very clearly the new legislation of the tax is very, very much better than the old version. Still, we definitely, what I'm trying to say, still we have an option to get us something very unique. I don't want to go into the details, but the bottom line, if you did Aliyah already, just keep in mind before you decide what to do, talk to me. Okay, I will explain you, because there is another advantage that we can maybe use if you did Aliyah before 15th of August, 2024. Okay, if someone did Aliyah before that date, he needs to speak with me or again with any other lawyer who deals with that. Okay. Yeah, Rafi, thanks. Okay. In the next few minutes, now let's leave the tax issue or the tax explanation, and let's speak about the whole process. You know, in points. I want to give you some points that you will be able to think. So the process of purchasing property in Israel is like that. There is one thing that you need to do before all what is written here. I wrote here like 7 points, which are very important. I'm going to speak. The first point of all of that actually will be to decide what is your budget. When I'm saying to decide what is your budget, this is very obvious. So this is why I didn't even write it. You need to know if your budget is to buy in 3 million shekel, in 4 million shekel, in 2 million shekel, you know, property, before you even decide what you're going to buy, where and which city. You need firstly to know we are approved for a mortgage in America, in London, in Israel. This is our budget. So let's say you decided your budget. Now these are the main steps. I'm not going to say these are everything, but I'm going to say these are the main steps we're going to have in the transaction. Number one, finding a property. That means you looked, you saw here, there, you saw Achziv, you saw Tel Aviv. It doesn't matter where, you find a property. Number two, you need to decide the price, and you need to decide what is the schedule of payments. The price will be done without the lawyers being involved. This is really important. The realtors in Israel are those who help to close the price. When the price has been agreed, then you can move to the next stage, which is schedule of payments with the lawyer or without the lawyer. But then from point number 3, only the lawyers will be involved. The point number 3 and point number 4 are critical for you to be legally covered. Number 3 speaks about the due diligence, which is legal due diligence will contain many things, but I can give you one, let's say suggestion. Okay, one, just do in a lot of cases do physical inspection of the property. Why? This is part of the due diligence. You want to know, and I heard many stories, thanks God, not my clients, but I heard many stories of people who bought place, didn't do the physical inspection, and then they had huge leaks, problems. You need to run after the seller. He doesn't want to fix it. So if you want one suggestion in number 3, you can think about that physical inspection of the property. Number 4 will be contract negotiation. Again, the lawyer will do that as well, just like the lawyer do number 3. The lawyer will do also number 4. Contract negotiation of the wording of the contract to create the best terms and to make sure you are secured. Number 5, 6, and 7 are critical. We will do this in the same time we do number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in other words, we would like to work in the same time. We're working on the contract or due diligence and all of that. We would love also to open a bank account, to send funds to Israel, and to assign a power of attorney to your attorney to make sure he can sign all the papers for you. And I want to give you one more suggestion in number 5. And this is really important. I'm sure part of you are thinking very seriously to buy properties, so I can give you one suggestion. Don't wait until you find the right property. You can contact me just after, whenever you want. You have the details from Rafi or from the slide or whenever. And let's already open a bank account in Israel. We do that. And why this is so much important? Because when you will find the property, the seller, he will not say, I'm sitting on my chair and I will wait until you have a bank account and until you send funds and until you convert the funds to dollars, to shekel, and until the money is ready. He will want, in Israel, the process is, no one, I guess you already know Israel, everybody are all the time, has no total patience to anything. Everybody running and everyone, this is the magic of the place. This is also maybe the disadvantage. But anyway, the bottom line, just not relate to when you will find. Even if you will find in 1 year the property, already open a bank account, already set it up, because this can help you a lot while you will find the property you're looking for. Okay. You can move on to the next slide, Rafi. Thanks. Sorry. Another 3 takeaways that I want you to have. Number 1, as you already understand, hire a lawyer in Israel who has the experience with guiding Olim, Anglos, and foreign buyers. This is really important because the process is completely different. If you live abroad, if you did Aliyah, it's completely different. Number 2, by the way, even about the tax Aliyah, the lawyers, this is very small issue. No, any lawyer, not all the lawyers know about exactly the conditions. Number 2, this is related to the budget that I spoke in the previous slide. If you're buying a property, make sure you have a pre-approval in advance before we sign the property. Okay, that's before we purchase the property. Number 3, and this is also related to the bank account I mentioned, transfer your funds to Israel. And this is maybe the best thing I want you to remember, the most important. Transfer the funds to Israel as soon as possible. Open a bank account, open the tool to transfer the funds. And we will help you with that. Here is my contact information. And we will be happy to offer something really special. we open up like time slots this week and next week for any one of you that is watching this webinar, which is all of you for sure. We'll be more than happy to set a time, even though we're really, really busy, all of us, but that's fine. We'll be more than happy to speak with you and to answer your questions. You can reach out to me in the WhatsApp message in the bottom of the slide and in my email. Feel free to respond, to send WhatsApp messages and email. Both very, very good. You can feel free also in WhatsApp. I know many people work with email, but I'm working in both tools equally.
Great. Thank you so much, Avraham. And I think the message that we really are going to be stressing throughout this webinar is that if you're thinking about Aliyah, if you're thinking about buying a property in Israel, you need to take the next step. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. And the first step is really just talking to people who can answer your questions. And so that's why we've had these, and we did it last Sunday and this Sunday as well. We've invited a number of experts who can share information with you, and then really it's up to you to take the next step. So I would strongly recommend, if you're thinking about buying a property in the near future or down the road, you talk to Avraham. You can very easily just click on the question and answer box, just type in me, the letters ME, and then once we're done with the webinars, we'll go through the entire list and reach out to you and schedule a call at the time that's convenient for you. But you have to take that first step to get the process going. So there's a few questions here that have come up. Avram, can you talk about if you,
It says
you
time frame for buying on paper before making Aliyah, if it's at the same time frame or different.
Okay. So if you're buying a property that is ready, you have to be Ole in Israel. Okay, listen carefully to my words. You have to be Ole already in Israel with that Ole, with the certificate of Ole. You have to be inside Israel within a year from the signing. If this property is ready, furnished, ready. If the property is on paper, then it's a bit more complicated because it's not that you have 3 years, but to be more accurately, you have up till 3 years. If the property will not, like I would say it like that, you count the 1 year from the time the property is ready. So if you sign the property and after 2 months it's ready, then the 1 year is starting. And if you sign the property and it's ready within 5 months, so then the 1 year is starting. But the whole period, doesn't matter what, will not be more than 3 years. So even if you're signing and the property will be ready within 2.5 years, you will not count another 1 year from the 2.5, you will count only half year. So I hope that made it clear. And if not, tell me and I will explain again.
It did, thank you. Are there any limitations if you take advantage of this benefit, the reduced tax when you sell? Does it impact you in any way? Do you have to keep your property for a period of time, or can you sell it? Can you flip it? Can you buy it and then sell it right away?
The specific benefit is not impacting you at all. There is a requirement by law that if you want to sell the property and to have no taxation, you need to hold it for 18 months from the time it is ready. And also that this will be the sole property that you have in Israel.
Okay. Can you talk about how residence is defined? How many days approximately do you have to live in Israel to be classified as a resident?
Yes, happily. So this is one of the most complicated question because the tax authority will want all the time to say that you're not a resident of Israel because they want you to pay more. And we, the lawyers, will say that we want you to be considered as the resident of Israel. So there is no, any case that is complicated, there will not be yes or no answer because it depends who is the tax guy that will check it, what is his policy, and for sure we can find. So the easy answer is, if you're really resident of Israel, that means if you really live here most of the year, you really live here, you really working here, you really paying bituach leumi, you really have kupat cholim. If you need to translate those words, you can tell them Rafi. But if you really have those things, bituach leumi payments, kupat cholim, living here most of the year should work. Again, no, I'm not going to say 100%. Every case needs to be inspected carefully.
Okay. And then the last question, we're just running out of time. How does it apply to returning citizens, toshavim chozorim? If somebody's coming back, right? Can they benefit from this? What's their situation?
Very, very good question. So Toshav Khozer has not given this benefit, because Toshav Khozer, as far as I understand the question correctly, is someone that already have Israeli ID number, and he's coming back after he already did Aliyah in the past, and therefore he will not be able to go into this clause because he already did Aliyah in the past. The only way he can have a good discount, if you remember the slide with the table, he can be in the most left side of the slide, to be considered like any other resident of Israel that buying his first property, but will not be able to enjoy the Aliyah if already been more than 7 years.
Got it. And what happens if their spouse is Olim Chadash? Then can they take advantage of it?
Yeah, one of the spouses is sufficient. Again, all the other conditions need to apply as well, but yeah.
Right, right. So of course there are a lot of nuances and details here. So thank you, Avram, for joining us tonight. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, please feel free to either type me, M-E, in the Q&A box so we can schedule them, or simply email myself or Avram, and we will send you a Q&A. So thanks very much, Avram. Have a good night, and we're going to start the next session with Mayan from Gvahim in just a couple of minutes. Take care.
Thank you, Avram. That was so informative.
Thank you. Wanted to thank you. Toda rabba, erev tov.
Erev tov.
Hi, Mayan.
Hi, מה נשמע?
Hi,
Glad you're doing
Mayan. Erev
Good
tov.
evening.
We're just going to start in a couple of minutes because some people might be running a little late. So everyone sit tight. If you're just joining us, if you can introduce yourself and let us know where you're from in Israel, where you're from in the world, that'd be super. And we'll get started in a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, right, Mayan's going to be talking about searching for a job, getting a job placement. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end, so you can go ahead and type your questions in the box now, in the Q&A box now, and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end of the presentation. And for those of you just joining, just to let you know, give you the heads up, after Mayan speaks, we are going to be doing a session from Stephen Ettinger talking about taxes. So that's going to be at 9 p.m. our time, 2 p.m. US. And then the last session will be at 2:30, 9:30. Jonathan Gross from Mizrahi Bank. He's going to be talking about the bank and the services that they provide. You can come and go as you want. You don't have to stay for all of them. We are going to we are recording the entire session, and we'll email it out. So just feel free, stick around, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes.
Oh, I was worried, Mayan. I wasn't sure where you went to.
No. I have you don't want to know, I have a puppy and he's trying to enter the room.
The puppy wants to be in the webinar. We're going to do we'll do a separate webinar about bringing pets to Israel, and then your puppy can be the speaker.
Exactly. He's amazing, his beauty, but still, you know.
Okay,
Oh,
we'll
we
just
should do
get
that,
started.
Rafi, bringing pets.
We'll get started in about a minute or so. We just want to give everybody that's registered and wants to join us just a moment to log in, and then we'll get started. If you have just joined us, please just take a moment and introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from in Israel or around the world, and we'll get started in a minute.
So many people ask us about jobs, so this is great. Mayan, I'm so excited to hear you. We get questions about jobs every day.
I
So
can imagine
this is a
that.
real treat.
Thank you. So thank you so much for having us, Gvahim. So my name is Mayan. I'm working
I'm sorry, Mayan. We'll get started in a moment.
okay, sorry.
Sorry, no, you're just practicing. That's good.
We'll just give everyone another moment or so to get on, because everyone's jumping off and on. It's a 3-hour
Of course.
in and out. And
Okay, I think we're good. We have a good number. So hi, everyone. For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Rafi Shulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I just want to take a moment and introduce you to my partner, Lara Itzhaki, and to Mayan Gatgold from Gvahim, who's going to be talking to us about tips for searching and finding a job in Israel. Before we get started, I just want to very briefly explain to you who Olim Advisors is and why we put on these webinars. for those of you who have just joined us. So just to give you a little bit of history, so back in 2016, Laura and I recognized that making Aliyah is challenging. It's challenging if you're making Aliyah and you speak Hebrew. If you don't speak Hebrew, it's a big decision. There's a lot of factors, and we wanted to help you. And so what we did is we started a service that pairs you or connects you with one of our Aliyah advisors, and they will personally guide you through the process from the very beginning of thinking about what communities you might want to move to, which schools you might want to send your kids to, how to find a home, what to ship, how to healthcare, so on and so forth. For those of you who have made Aliyah, you know there's a lot of decisions that one has to make. So we want to really hold your hand and guide you through the process. And then when you come to Israel, we'll help you with the bureaucracy and getting the benefits, and of course getting all the documentation, your passport, and so on and so forth, and then just providing you with ongoing support so you have somebody who you can turn to, who you can help. And the same thing applies with real estate. If you're not thinking about making Aliyah, or if you live in Israel already and you want to buy property in Israel, the market here is very different from other countries, and so we want to guide you through this process as well by finding the right communities, finding projects for you, and introducing you to our network of people that really go above and beyond, who want to help Anglos, who want to help Olim, who want to help foreign buyers. And in essence, what we've done now is we've created a one-stop shop for Olim, for Anglos, and for real estate buyers. And either we can help you directly, or we can help you through our amazing network of partners, companies and organizations like Vahim. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you, Mayan, for you to talk about Vahim and all the amazing things that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lara and Rafi. So good evening, everyone. My name is Mayan Goodgold. I'm the head of the Pre-Aliyah department at Gvahim. And so we are turning Aliyah into professional success, and a little bit about us. So first of all, our mission is really to facilitate the successful integration of new Olim into the Israeli job market. We are a non-profit organization created almost 20 years ago. And what we do is we prepare the Ole for his Aliyah by giving him tools and update the skills to find, first of all, his suitable employment, and also building his network and develop his professional networking in Israel. Please, Rafi, you can move on. So we at Gvahim, we like to speak with numbers, okay? So as I said, almost 20 years ago, we are in partnership with over 1,000 companies, okay? We have a lot of mentoring system at Gvahim. We're working with more than 800 mentors and volunteering. Over the years, over the 19 years of activity, we had more than 8,000 alumni in all our different programs, which is a huge number, and we are very proud of this. 90% of our Olim are academic, and we have more than 85% of successful rate of Olim who did our program. Okay, now Gvahim is not a placement agency, but we have a placement department inside Gvahim, and I will explain shortly how it works. But before that, as I said, we are giving Olim the tools to prepare the Aliyah. So Gvahim, I like to say, divided in two major parts: the pre-Aliyah department and the post-Aliyah department. As I said, I'm the head of the pre-Aliyah program. This program is from 18 years old to Ad 120, as we said in Hebrew. You can be with your file open at Nefesh Benefesh. You can be with a dream to one day come to Israel, okay? There are no rules in that way. What we give is we have 4 major services in the Pre-Aliyah program. We have the introduction meeting to understand who you are, what are your needs, in which way you are doing Aliyah alone, with children, how old are the children, because depending on that, of course, the need and the help will be guided as well. So this is the first one-on-one in order to understand who you are, and we explain who we are and what we can offer. The second step is to be part of a huge platform of network, Vahim Network Platform, where you will be able to see a lot of webinars about a lot of subjects to prepare yourself. If it's to understand how the medical system works in Israel, what is a Kupat Cholim, if it's to understand the education, what kind of schools can you go, etc. So we have a large webinar session online there. We have a lot of tips of how to update your CV, for example, how to level up your LinkedIn. And the most important is that you can already connect with Olim that speaks the same language, Olim that maybe are doing Aliyah in the same city, okay? So you can do the network before your Aliyah. The third service that we give, it's 3 personal consultations with experts. We have a list of subjects that each Ole can choose which consultation he needs. It could be budget planning to understand, because as you know, it's not a secret, Israel is one of the most expensive places in the world. So a budget expert will sit with you and will analyze, according to your profession, according to your needs, and you can plan your budget. It could be, of course, job orientation with an HR expert, and so on. We have very large list with subjects that you can receive these consultations. And we have a WhatsApp group, a closed WhatsApp group according to your language. The Pre-Aliyah program exists in 5 languages: English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. So we have 5 WhatsApp groups, and in those groups it's closed because we try to open them, and it's very nice to receive Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, but imagine to receive them from hundreds of Olim, it's a little bit, noisy. And we wanted to keep it professional and very dedicated to the information we add there. So of course, all the webinars that we have during the year are there. Special, sometimes rules from the Ministry of Integration, or very important article that an Ole can read, and it can help him. So this is the kind of information. We keep it very clean and quiet. Please, happy? So please don't go back, please, for a second. So those who are not here in Israel, those who are planning to do Aliyah, we are working hand by hand with Nefesh B'Nefesh. So with Nefesh B'Nefesh, you open your file, of course, global, and you do all your documentation preparation. And parallel to that, you are more than welcome to register to our free Pre-Aliyah program. We will guide you, we will be there for you. And yes, thank you. So how we do it? How we help you to find a dream job, or how we help you to integrate into the Israeli job market. So the Post-Aliyah program is the Gvahim Career Center, the GCC. Basically, Gvahim was created almost 20 years ago by Michael Ben Saadon, a French guy that studied in the best schools in France. And he was sure that, with all his diplomas, he will find a job easily. His dream was to do Aliyah, to start working, to find his wife. And, the reality was not that. Nobody was waiting for him, neither with a red carpet or with a plate and job offers. So from one thing to another, after a year, he met someone, and together they opened Gvahim. They opened Gvahim in order really to empower Zolim with the knowledge and the practical tools to find a quality job according to their education, okay? Because of course, everyone can find a job, okay? But the thing is, we want really to help Olim find jobs in their profession, and that's the difference. So we do it in 4 steps. You can go ahead, please. The first step is interactive group workshop. So this course of GCC, Gvahim Career Center, will take you approximately between 1.5 months to 2 months. It's doing by Zoom, in Zoom. So this is very convenient. It's twice a week, 5 hours every time in the morning. And a few times a year, we have an evening course to allow Olim who are in the Ulpan, who wants to work or need to work in the meantime. So we allow that option as well. So we have interacting groups workshop, okay? There are meetings leading by experts. Go back, please. Okay, so leading by expert, really to give you the feeling, the confidence of how to navigate in the Israeli job market. Yes. One-on-one career consultation. I'm talking about 3 hours with an HR expert who will sit with you, not in a group, one-on-one, covering career direction, CV optimization, meaning, as you know, the Israeli market is a little bit different than abroad. We like a one-page CV, very short, very point to the, to the job that you are looking. We explain how to use the keywords. Okay, we really do very much one-on-one consultation tailored to your needs, to the Olim needs. Yeah. Meeting the placement team. As I said, we're not a placement agency, but yes, we do have a placement team. As you saw before, we are in contact with more than 1,000 companies in all the sectors. Yes, it's true, especially the high tech, but not only. Okay. So when you complete all the process with a personal career consultant and you participate in the group sessions, okay, the placement team is ready for you. Okay, we received a lot of offers from companies, and the placement team tried to do the shidduch. Okay, very simple. I really like the word shidduch because this is it. I mean, we see the skills, we see the experience, we see the ole, and we try to match it with the job offer that you receive from companies. Please. And last and not the least, very important, in Israel, everything works with a good network, okay? So as I mentioned before, we have more than 800 mentor, okay, and buddies. And so first of all, in the GCC career course, you will have the option to choose a mentor in your profession that will accompany you and guide you through the process of finding a job, okay? In addition to everything, you will be part of the Gvaim network group, okay? And so really we focus on the network. We focus on giving you the tools to be part of the community, okay? And to enhance all the opportunities in the market. Please. So here, for those, okay, so one thing I didn't mention, and it's important, the Gvaim Career Center, the GCC, is only in English. So you guys are lucky. It's only in English, and it's a program that Olim can do only where they are doing Aliyah, meaning they are here in Israel. Okay? This is the post-Aliyah program for Olim who are here in Israel. Now, when I said we are helping Olim in Gvaim, meaning in the frame of 10 years. From the moment you made Aliyah, 10 years. Meaning that, even if here we have Olim who are 5, 6, 3 years, no problem. You're more than welcome to contact us. And this is the QR. You can just scan it, and our department will guide and help you in that. So some tips, okay, for a successful professional integration. This is why we are all here. So research the Israeli job market, okay? So of course, each one of us have his own profession. So identify fields in demand and how your skills, okay, are translated to that. Now, some of the profession, okay, need to be certificated to recognize in Israel. So this is one thing that, you need to know. For example, all the pharma, the medical department, some of the
Architect.
Architect, yes. So there are some profession where the certification is very important. So one of our, remember I told you about the 3 free consultations. So one of the experts and the subjects is the certification. What need to be recognized, yes or no? Okay, this is one. Network, again, I'm talking about the network all the time. Connect with professional in your field already. In Israel, you can start doing that before your Aliyah even, okay? Try to join forums, okay? Try to search for your industry, to read about it, to understand what are the requirements. And of course, learn Hebrew, okay? Guys, English is a big, huge added value, and you have already 50% of success, okay? when you're looking for a job having English native speaking. But if you want to integrate in the society, in being an Israeli, even in the job market, Hebrew is a must. It will help you. It will faster the things. Yes. Prepare your resume. It's not a secret that it's okay to have 2-3 CVs. Okay, that's fine, depending on the job description that you want. So do some research. In our platform, we have segmented a lot of professions, especially for that. So you can, guys, use the keywords that here Israel is using, and you can apply them on your CV. Okay. Of course, highlighting the relative experience that you have and skills depending on the job that you are oriented. Consider additional training or certification. Sometimes we have a gap, okay? And if you are preparing your Aliyah, like the guys before me said, when you want to do Aliyah, you are considering buying an apartment, start it early, okay? Don't wait for the last moment, especially in the same story for the job search, okay? Try to do your homework before you Aliyah. Read about your industry. You read about, the skills and the experience that they are looking. Maybe you still have time to do a small course to, to bridge that gap, okay, between what you have and what the Israeli market is asking. Be open to new opportunities. We at Gvahim, we really emphasize a lot the, we call it repackaging. Sometimes you cannot work exactly at the same job that you had abroad. But yes, if the HR will help you to take your skills, your experience, together she will show you what are the options that, yes, you can work in Israel. So just come with open mind, okay? Don't be focused only in what you think you want. Sometimes new opportunities can be open, okay? And be flexible. That's it in your choice. Now, what do you know about the Israeli market? Okay, so we're a small country. Being a small country, most of the organizations are small. Okay, even the large companies in Israel still behave with a flat organization structure. What does it mean? It means that you will have less hierarchy in the company, and comparing to the huge companies in the States, for example, so you will have less intermediate positions. So if you are coming from a very high level management, maybe at the beginning you will have to a little bit downgrade your expectations and maybe start from a little bit less, and knowing that, again, the flat organization will not permit you to have a lot of scales into the options or jobs offer. Okay. Okay. Relationship-oriented culture. Israel is a very much oriented in people. Okay, meaning a lot of companies will really emphasize hiring people who are friendly, who are sociable, who can easily connect with one another. And when you go to the to your first interview or second interview, try to do some homework and read about the culture in that organization. Because if you manage in the interview to pass this culture gap a little bit, or to speak at the same language, or to understand what it's their culture, even with the dressing code, okay, you can do really a good homework and giving you a lot of points, okay, a good points in the interview. Because again, we are a country of people, okay, we talk, we communicate, less barriers between. Usually, there is no, like, the CEO is not God, okay, we talk, right, Rafi? It's more friendly, and this is important. This is very important. So if you could really fit into the culture in the job interview, you're on the right way. The network, okay? Network is critical, is really like everything is by hearing and knowing people who know someone. Sometimes the job offer will not even go to the market, okay? A lot of organizations encourage employees to bring their own people, and it's very understandable, because if someone is happy from the employee, they probably know that they will bring someone who is like him, okay? So network is something that we at Gvahim emphasize a lot, work a lot on that. That's why we created the platform of Gvahim Network. Really, 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 really important. Two parallel markets, why the dispersion of salaries? Yes, so when we talk about high tech, okay, not all the job offers in high tech are R&D. Not everything is very technical, okay? It's not IT. In the high tech, we have a lot of options like customer successful, you have project management, you have a lot of option in the high tech. And the fact that you are an English speaker and you don't have the Israeli accent, as I said before, it's a 50% of good points. Why? Because from the war, a lot of companies abroad really don't like the Israeli accent. What can you do? I mean, people don't like us, right? So you have a big added value being an English speaker native. So salaries in the high tech, industry, obviously are higher than other industries. Okay, so when you hear high tech, don't be afraid, because sometimes it's not all about the high tech that you think you know. Okay, R&D, IT, programmer, not always, not only. Okay. So this is us. This is us Gvahim. We are in Ra'anana, and we have branches in Jerusalem, in Haifa, and we are very glad, and we hope to see you at our programs, if it's Aliyah or GCC. These are my contact details, the website, my email, my phone. It's a WhatsApp phone, so feel free to WhatsApp me at any time. What else? That's in general. I'm working at Gvahim for the last 4 years. I have 3 children. I speak 4 languages, so that's why I don't have an English accent. I'm sorry. And that's it. Welcome to Israel, the best country in the world. Really.
Thank you, Maya, and thank you so much. And I think we're all, blown away by all the information that you kind of filled in a short period of time. And I think it's really helpful. But I think the recommendation here is to talk to Gvahim one-on-one, like I've been saying all along from the beginning. It's impossible for Mayan to really understand exactly what each person in this webinar is looking for in a short period of time. And of course, it's not the forum. So we do recommend that you reach out, as we've been doing all night. If you want us to coordinate a call with Mayan, you can just type me in the question and answers, and when we go through this, we'll be able to introduce you to them, or you can scan the QR or email Mayan directly as well. And so we have a few minutes left, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for questions. Mayan, one question that we get a lot is people want to know when they should start interviewing, because it's a catch-22. On one hand, companies don't want to hire people when they're not here, most companies.
Exactly.
But the flip side is that people want to start the search before they get here, because they don't want to, look for 6 months for a year. So what's your answer? What's your advice?
So it's an excellent question. So I can completely understand, and myself, I've been in relocation. And we came back 6 years ago after 11 years abroad. So I can really understand the fear of coming to a new country without a job, right? But you need to understand something. Nowadays, the companies, it's not like 20 years or 30 years ago that really the HR person was sitting near the fax and receiving, right, the CVs. Today, it's everything computerized. And the fact that you are sending a CV, okay, which is not adapted to the Israeli culture or way, which maybe an HR, a local HR didn't see and gave you tips. And the fact that you are sending it and the VPN is an external VPN, most of the chances that you will be blocked before even someone read your CV. Now you will think, oh, nobody is getting back to me. It's not because you're not good, okay? Because 50% of the chances, okay, 50%, nobody will even receive your CV. This is one. And second, again, you are maybe burning your chances in X company if you are not doing it correctly. Now, again, the Aliyah program is a free program. We guide you, we give you tools, okay? We see your CV. You can be connected to our network. We have a lot of things that you can, as I said, we have in the platform a segmentation of professions, okay? So yes, do the preparation, read about your profession, about your industry, okay? Read about it, of course. Compare the salaries, okay? We have really companies that you can understand what will be your salary depending on your years of experience. But again, 90% of the times, people cannot find a job before they're doing Aliyah. Now, let's say that you are lucky and someone and your CV was received in the company. They will call you. Easy, of course, nowadays the Zoom is very good. You will have the first chat on Zoom. Excellent. Lucky again, you are through it as well. They will ask you, okay, so when are you planning to come? And you will say, oh, I didn't open the file yet. I'm waiting for my paper. You understand? It's not serious. I mean,
Right.
again, most of the chance, it's very difficult to find out. Of course, when we are talking about very, very high positions, okay, could be different, maybe. But, you know, better to prepare the ground, to do the research, to be ready. And when we are here, or you know what, 2 weeks before, but don't start 6 months before. It will not, you can damage even your chances by burning, okay, the chances in X company.
Got it.
Hope I answered the question.
You did. Thank you so much. And thank you for your inspiration and for the wisdom. And it's just amazing that you offer so many services and all these services are free. So really take advantage of them. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a Shavua Tov, a good week, and we'll be speaking to you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, מעיין. תודה רבה.
בכיף.
ערב טוב.
Okay, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking to Stephen Ettinger from Us America about taxes. So we're just going to take a little bit of a break. You feel free to stay in here. You can go around. You can go for a little walk. We'll start in just a couple of minutes here.
Do you see Stephen?
Just looking for him. And then Laura, if you want to, no, I don't see him.
He said he's in, but he's on his phone from his
He's using
office.
somebody else's. I don't see. He's using somebody else's account or name. I don't see him.
Okay, he said he's under his name, but I'll double check.
You just joined us. We're going to start in a couple minutes. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulties with Stephen joining us. If you just joined us, if you can just take a moment and type in your question, just let us know where you're from. Laura, I'm not seeing him listed anywhere. There's nothing with, I'm searching for Stephen. Let's see, phone, no, there's an iPhone, maybe that's him.
Yeah, it's the iPhone.
Okay. So 1 second, Lauren, if you don't mind just typing to Maya and just telling her she can leave as presenter. I don't have an option of changing her.
What to tell Mayan?
Never
Sorry.
mind. Mayan left. Never mind.
Okay.
She's okay. We're just gonna wait for Stephen to join, and then we can get started. Hi, Stephen. I see that you're connected. If you can just turn on your camera and just your microphone so we can see and hear you, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm check. Okay, that's just oops.
Yeah, we can hear you. Now we just need to get your
Yeah, I'm trying to see start video. Okay, there we go.
there you go.
Excellent.
Okay. Wish I could see. The problem is I can't see myself right now. Okay, so I'm probably going to look very funny here. Okay.
Okay, we'll get started. Okay, so thanks again for joining us. For those of you who just joined for the session, I just want to introduce myself briefly. My name is Rafi Shulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. Joining me for the session is my partner, Laura Itzhaki, and Stephen Ettinger, who is the founder and CEO of Mass America. So thank you both for joining us. I just want to let everybody know that the format of this one's a little different from the ones that we've done in the past, where we're actually breaking it into sessions, 30-minute sessions. So you can come and go as you please. After Stephen talks about his presentation, we're going to have one more tonight from Jonathan Gross at Mizrahi. So stick around for that one as well. I just want to briefly talk about Olim Advisors for those of you who haven't been on this webinar from the beginning. Just explain to you who we are and why we're hosting these webinars, and then Stephen, I'll hand it over to you for your presentation. So Laura and I started Olim Advisors back in 2016 because we recognized that it was difficult for people to make Aliyah. So many people, it's their lifelong dream. They've been thinking about it, planning it, but there are just too many decisions that one has to make from abroad. And we want to help with that. And so what we did is we started a company that provides a very customized, a very personalized service where in essence, we will team you up with an advisor. So whether it's somebody making Aliyah or if you're looking to buy real estate in Israel, we have amazing individuals that will guide you through the entire process. So from the early days of your Aliyah planning, maybe if you're trying to find communities or schools or homes, or as you just saw with jobs, we can introduce you to Vahim who can help you find jobs. There's a lot of decisions that one has to make as part of the Aliyah process. We want to help you make those decisions and really hold your hand and guide you through the pre-Aliyah process, the stage. Then when you get to Israel, then you deal with bureaucracy. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the horror stories, but you know what? It's not that bad. And it's definitely not bad if we're helping you and we're guiding you through the process. We can really streamline it. We can expedite it. We can tell you exactly what you need to do, where to go, when to go, and we will go with you to each appointment to make sure that it's taken care of properly. And then, of course, provide you with ongoing support so that when you have questions, you have somebody to turn to. And we do that with Aliyah. We also do with real estate. And the idea here is that we want to help you find the right community, the right project, and that you work with the right people, right? And as you can see, and we've mentioned this before, what we're accomplishing here is we're, in essence, a one-stop shop for people who are thinking about making Aliyah. For Anglos who are living here already and have questions and needs, we're here to help you as well. And of course, if you're looking to buy a home in Israel, whether you're a foreign buyer or you live in Israel, we can help you here either directly through our team or indirectly through our amazing network of partners that each one of them has their own field of expertise. And so that's why we've invited Stephen to join us, because he has the expertise when it comes to taxes. I know it's something that a lot of people are thinking about, especially now at the beginning of the year. So with that, Stephen, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Rob. I just want to check with you how, in terms of advancing the slides, I don't have control over that.
I'll advise. So just let me know when you're done with each slide. Let me know to move on, and I'll move on.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we start out with the first slide. You don't have to go back to it. So I'm the CEO of and founder of Mass America. We're really I consider us, and many do, the premier U.S. tax consulting and compliance firm in Israel. I'm a U.S. tax attorney with over 40 years of experience. I've worked for the IRS, the U.S. Department of Justice, a number of very large multinational corporations. And yes, I was the tax counsel of the Detroit Pistons for 8 years. That's something that my kids were really happy about, because when I worked for them, they got to go into the locker rooms and go onto the court. About 21 years ago, I made Aliyah with my family, and people thought that I was crazy for coming with 6 kids, and they were at the time ranging from age 9 to 19. So yes, we didn't come with really small ones. We came with teenagers and those in middle school, and yes, it can be done. And about 11 years ago, I founded Mas America. What makes Mas America very different from a lot of the other firms in Israel is that we have very experienced U.S. CPAs, attorneys, and enrolled agents. Some of the other firms bring in people that really just prepare returns. But we shouldn't scare you away, because yes, while some of our clients are, we have clients who are the owners of some of the largest corporations in Israel. I mean, I have billionaires literally that are clients, but we also give the same attention and service to young families, people who might just be wage earners, who even don't have any investments and are just trying to get child credit. And anybody who has U.S. tax needs and Israeli tax needs, we're able to service them. Okay, now let's really understand and want you to understand why we are very capable and welcoming to, and how we service the needs of Olim, because they have very unique needs. Because what happens is people are coming on Aliyah now. They have some unique issues. One of them is they're coming in with US-based assets, which again, a lot of people who've been here a long time, some of them do, but they don't. That means there's special income reporting. That means, they're dealing with the exemption, and as that exemption comes off, they have questions after the 10 years what to do with them. Sometimes they, while they're here, especially older Olim, might get or receive inheritances from relatives. So questions come about how to report them. Obviously, the inheritances themselves are tax-free, but then there become issues with respect to investing them, treatments of investments, all sorts of other issues. And again, you want experienced tax accountants, tax lawyers to deal with them. Your beneficiaries of trusts, which happen very much more often than you would expect, even with the exemption, trusts themselves, and when you have an Israeli beneficiary, I don't want to get too complicated here, you can end up with issues and unpleasant surprises in terms of what you expect to be the tax result and what actually is the tax result. People that have retirement plans and 401ks and IRAs, there are complex issues that you're just assuming aren't there, and they can be there. You have a lot of Olim who come over and are still managing the affairs of their parents. Sometimes they're taking care of their tax returns and their tax issues. Sometimes they're making financial decisions. Sometimes they're making decisions that involve their own financial situations. And again, as you're probably all aware, there are tax aspects to all of their decisions. And these all require sophistication, even if right now you are just going to your local accountant in the States and dealing with these, but they become more complex. And just because they're complex doesn't mean it costs more, but it does mean that you require expertise, and that's something that we have. Another thing that we do handle, and perhaps some of you are not yet considering Aliyah or are on these webinars or participating today because you're just interested about what's happening here in Israel, or because you're interested in investing in Israel, we're also available to consult and to talk to U.S. Persons who are investing in Israeli assets. We regularly advise U.S. investors in Israeli assets and real estate, those who are investing in high tech. We deal with individuals in the U.S. who are angel investors who receive stock options. There are many of these issues come up, and those who are people who are structuring high-tech investments, U.S. holding companies, subsidiaries here, there's special reporting requirements. All of these issues, it's, again, we advise that it's good to have people here who understand the international aspects as opposed to sometimes a local accountant in the US who may not be particularly well versed. One of the things that Ravi asked me to do is, and I think it's good, those of you who are listening to me, to be able to walk away with a few things to think about. First thing here is for those of you who are and will be, hopefully very soon, making Aliyah. We encounter a lot of people who make Aliyah, but who do not or don't make the decision right away to sell their homes back in the States. Sometimes it's because they're still traveling back and forth. Sometimes it's because they believe they want to have the rental income for a few years. Sometimes it's because they think, well, maybe it's not going to work out and they want to move back. Well, we've had a few situations, not clients of ours, but people who started out with other preparers, where they didn't keep their eye on the ball, meaning they didn't realize that if they let more than 3 years go by where they didn't sell the house that was their principal residence, they didn't live in it as their principal residence, they could have lost the, for a married couple, the $500,000 exclusion of gain. So, at a 20% or with the Obamacare 23.8% capital gain rate, you could be leaving about potentially $138,000 on the table. I'm, again, maybe overstating that a little bit, but that's a trap that one would not want to fall into. And again, there are many tax practitioners here that will not necessarily, you'll drop off your documents, they'll do the return. They may not ask the question, how long have you been here? Or do you still have a house in the United States? Another common issue is that with Olim, or even people who've been here a while, you have people who are working remotely from Israel and they're receiving their salary in the United States. You end up with questions about which parts of the salary are getting taxed where. And a lot of people get confused about whether or not and how the 10-year exemption applies. For these issues, you need somebody who is well versed in the international tax aspects and who really understands both the Israeli and the US tax aspects. We've helped many clients maximize or actually minimize their tax, but maximize through planning in order to save themselves, first of all, state taxes, especially if you're living in high tax states like New York and New Jersey or California. With proper planning and structuring, you can, in many cases, eliminate the state tax. And they're also planning to avoid self-employment taxes using certain structures. There are also ways to, again, to make sure to balance out depending on where you are, the number of days you are, to be able to minimize the amount of taxes that you're paying. Finally, there are different types of income. For example, the most common is Social Security, that because of the way the U.S.-Israel tax treaty, and again, a lot of practitioners don't necessarily read the treaty or read the treaty properly, or certainly a lot of the accountants in the United States are totally unaware of the treaty, okay? And Social Security being a good example of that. If you make Aliyah and you're on and you have Social Security, you live here, you have residence here, you do not pay tax on Social Security in the United States or in Israel. There are other types of income that similarly can be eliminated. And there are also certain, and again, I don't want to say that we have a secret sauce or special knowledge, but based on research that we have done and planning that we have done for other clients, we are aware of opportunities to eliminate other types of income utilizing treaty provisions. And again, I am not exaggerating here. That's I'm not prone to that. We have, in certain cases, eliminated, legitimately, no tax, not, again, I'm a former IRS attorney myself. We don't take chances. We don't want to open our clients up to audits or anything like that. We have eliminated millions of dollars of income, both from Israeli and simultaneously U.S. income, by utilizing the law, by utilizing the Aliyah exemption, and by utilizing the treaty. And again, this is why you want to go to a firm like Mas America that understands the law and doesn't just put numbers on a return. Okay, so again, if you're making Aliyah, it's really, and this is really the last piece of advice, and I mean this sincerely. I mean, I hope that if you make Aliyah and you come to Israel, you would immediately consider utilizing Mas America. But even if you don't, it's almost, I don't want to say negligent, but it's almost irresponsible to stay with a return preparer in the United States. Most of them are not aware of many of the international tax provisions. They're not aware of the proper way to prepare some of the international tax forms. And some of these forms carry penalties of $10,000, $25,000. There's one that, is 35% of certain reported amounts. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable what some of these penalties can be. And as I said, they also can miss opportunities for you to eliminate income by taking advantage of treaty provisions. So, if you're making Aliyah, look for a local tax advisor. And as I said, we consider ourselves the best. So that's the, my talking portion. But if anybody has, and, I'm opening it up now for questions, and I would be glad to take questions now. Also on the slide here, I have my email. I certainly welcome any questions that any of you have, and feel free to reach out to me at any time. Certainly, those of you who are making Aliyah or planning Aliyah in the near future, certainly feel free. I would be very, very happy to give you, to share my experience with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen. So for those of you who are listening now, if you want to just type me into the Q&A box, if you want to, you can schedule a consultation call with Stephen or a member of his staff. Feel free to do that. Stephen, we actually had a question in a previous session about the 10 years. And can you just clarify, like, for example, what would we consider active income versus passive income, and the 10-year window and how that plays in? Because I think a lot of people are confused by that, and I think it's relevant to a lot of people.
Well, there's a, active, passive, there's that's not so much the demarcation as there's a combination of active and passive, plus the source of the income as well. So let's start with the passive, so basically okay, so really it has to do with, first of all, the source of the income. So, I mean, the income has to be coming from outside of Israel. So I'm just going to use the U.S., as like an American OLA as opposed to a French OLA. So first of all, if you're having your U.S.-based assets, like your stock portfolio or your bonds or your real estate, so certainly that's all kind of classic passive income. But now let's deal with somebody who owns a corporation. Okay, so let's say you have an individual who owns an S corporation and has 30 employees. Okay, now to the extent that that person goes to the United States and spends 6 months there, or working in the in the company, and is and spends part of the time here working remotely. Okay, I don't want to get into full allocations or anything, but the reality is you could say there's a certain amount of, and again, let's say the profit of that business is $2 million. Okay, there would be, I don't want to, and again, don't want to get hyper technical here, but there would be a certain amount that one could say that is attributable to his active efforts. And we'll call that like a salary component, okay? But the rest of it is a business that is generating profit, and because there's like 30 employees working in it, and that's a US-based business. Well, those profits are US-based profits. So that income, that profit that would be coming, that he could then, let's say there's $2 million of profit, and we would, and we would identify $100,000 as a salary. That, again, I'm trying to be very, very general here. So the $100,000, let's say, might be taxed in Israel, but the $1.9 million, while it would be taxed in the United States, would not be taxed in Israel. Okay, and again, that's a very, very broad, general, oversimplified example. Right. Okay, on the other hand, now here's one that's going to go the other way, little Gemara thumb here, okay? Let's say you have 10 investment properties in the United States that generate rental income. But you're here in Israel every day on the phone, sending emails, managing that property, talking to the supers, okay? I mean, you are actively managing those properties. Now, Mas Haknatha could take a position that what you're doing is that's not a passive real estate business, that's an active business that you are managing and performing and doing from Israel. And that's not just, passive rental income, that's an active business income, and that's attributable to your activities in Israel. So it's, whereas there are some very clear, baskets like dividends and interest and royalties and things like that. There are items that could go into a gray area, which is why you want to, which is where you need good accountants and tax lawyers, and you need people to explain the rules to you and help you structure and help you plan, and yeah, that's what we do. That's why we're here to assist.
Right. Okay. There's a question here, and maybe it's too detailed to go into it, but I'll just ask it to you. What are some of the tax implications of Israeli inheritors of US-based assets? So what are the
Okay, this is actually one of my, you're going to laugh. I mean, I actually gave a 1-hour seminar on, not necessarily Israeli, but on foreign inheritors of US property.
Can you cut that down to 3 minutes, or is it too detailed?
No. I mean, Rabbi Wein once told a story, and the story, about somebody who gave a speech in a synagogue for about an hour, and he went up to him and said, if you had a 5-minute segment on 60 Minutes, do you think you would be able to, say that? Because what you said was brilliant and wonderful. And the guy said, yes. And the guy said, then why didn't, Rabbi Wein said, well, then why didn't you? So, but the answer is that if the inheritance that you are getting, and let's say if you're an American and you're sitting here and you get the inheritance, basically there's no problem. There are no issues, other than the fact that, Baruch Dayanim says, I feel bad that your relative passed away. But, in the United States, there's no, unless it's above a certain amount, okay, if it's above, let's say, $14 million for an individual, we'll keep the simple case, an individual dies under $14 million, you inherit it, no estate tax, fine, it's yours. Simple, okay, let's just say easy peasy, okay? And then Israel, you won't have any significant problems bringing it in, except you're probably, the bank will probably, and because of the money laundering rules here and whatnot, will probably ask for some kind of proof of the source of the money. And again, I don't want to get into that. That's the lengthier process. The inheritance issue that is more complicated is that if an American, meaning let's say you come over, you have a more elderly person who makes Aliyah, okay, who passes away and their children are here, and that person has significant assets in the United States, okay? So again, there would not be, again, unless they had more than $14 million, there would not be an estate tax, but there is a rather complicated procedure of getting a certain type of tax clearance from the IRS. You have to get these certificates. They're called transfer certificates from the IRS. And then you have to give those to each of the financial institutions and brokers. So let's say that relative who passed away had an account in Chase Bank and then had another account at Merrill Lynch and then had another brokerage account and had at TD, at TD Bank or whatever, whatever. You would literally need to get a tax clearance from the IRS, which is a procedure, then get these certificates to give to each one of these institutions before they would release the money to you. And that could take up to 2 years. So, that is one of the drawbacks of an American dying abroad and having assets in the United States. But from the standpoint of actually receiving an inheritance, like I said, there's no difference between receiving an inheritance as an American in Israel and receiving an inheritance as an American in the United States from a tax standpoint.
Okay. Well, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure it goes into a lot more detail, but
Yeah. No,
thank
there's
you,
like I said, I spoke.
I appreciate that, considering the time. But thank you again, Stephen, for joining us tonight. I'm sure that the other people that have a lot of additional questions, and so if you want to go ahead and schedule a call with Stephen or somebody on his staff, just type in the word ME into the questions and answers, or you can email him directly or call him at the information that's here on the slide. So thank you again, Stephen, for joining us tonight. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Rafi, for having me, and I wish I could see everybody out there, but I really wish everybody luck. And like I said, we made it, and we really fulfilled a dream, making Aliyah to Israel, and there's nothing better. I mean, there are absolutely no regrets. As not only that, it's just brought us joy, and there's nothing like raising your family here or living here, and there's nothing that you cannot accomplish here. Absolutely not. And this is our home. No doubt about it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
So much.
Okay, thanks everyone. We're going to get started just another minute or two. We're going to bring Jonathan Gross on from Mizrahi in the last session of the evening. It's going to be about banking, so just stay tuned. We're going to get set up for that. While we're waiting, if you have any questions, general questions for Jonathan, we will have a Q&A session at the end. You can go ahead and type them. As you can see, we're not able to get to everyone's questions, but definitely we'll try to get to some of them. And then for those people who want to talk to Jonathan or people on his team, feel free to just type me into the Q&A box and we'll schedule that. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, good evening. How are you, Rafi?
Good. We're going to start in just a minute. Just want to make sure we'll give everyone an opportunity who is registered and wants to join us. We'll just give them a minute or two and then we'll get started.
Who has been with us from the beginning? Say me.
I see some names here from last Sunday. People have been on. It's great. It's really, it's very rewarding to see that people are joining us time and time again and sticking around. And we really hope that the information we're providing you is useful and helpful and inspiring. and we definitely want to do more of it. So let us know if there are other topics you want us to cover, or of course you can reach out to us directly and we can hop on a call and we can talk to you about your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, and how we can help you. So we'll give it, I think actually we're good to go. Okay, so let's get started with the last session of the webinar. For those of you who just joined us, my name is Rafi Schulman and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I just want to take a moment and introduce you to the two other people who are joining me now, to my partner, Laura Itzhaki, and to Jonathan Gross, who's the executive at Mizrahi Bank. So thank you very much for joining us. Before we get started, I just want to share with you just very briefly what we do here at Olim Advisors. If you just joined us now, I want to make sure that you have a complete picture and understand what you're trying to accomplish here. So Laura and I started Olim Advisors back in 2016 because we recognized that making Aliyah is challenging. Whether you're coming from the US, UK, South Africa, or any other country in the world, you're coming to a different country, a different culture, and there are a lot of decisions that one has to make beforehand. You have to decide where you're going to move to, how you're going to find a job, if you're going to find school for your kids, if you have children, how do you find the right home, what to ship, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, a lot of people just felt that it was too difficult of a process for them to go through. And so they were giving up, or they were saying, you know what, maybe when I retire, I'll come. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to change that. We wanted to help people, to guide them, to inspire them, to really hold their hand throughout the process. And so we started Olim Advisors by offering a very high-end service, a very personalized service. And what we do is we will team you up with your own personalized Aliyah advisor who will get to know you, who will get to know what your plans are, and really guide you through the process from the very beginning. And whether or not you're looking to make Aliyah in the next few months or next few years, we can help you figure it out. We can help you put together a game plan and help you in the pre-Aliyah process, the stage. Then when you get to Israel, we can help you open up an account with the banks and deal with all the other bureaucracy that you have to deal with, whether it's getting your benefits, getting all your documentation, and really streamline and expedite and simplify this process. And of course, be there on an ongoing basis to provide you with support and with guidance. And the same thing applies also to those of you who are thinking about buying a property in Israel, whether it's a home for investment purposes, or if you want to move now or down the road, or maybe for your kids. The process here is very different from the real estate process in the market in other countries. So we want to guide you through the entire process from beginning to end, from finding the right communities, finding the right projects, and introducing you to our network of professionals and companies who can help you. So either we can help you directly or through our network. And in essence, what we want to do here and what we have done here is create a one-stop shop for Olim, for Anglos, and for real estate buyers. So with that, Jonathan, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about Mizrahi Bank and how you cater to Olim, to Anglos, and real estate buyers.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rafi. Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity, and I want to thank Olim Advisors who are really provide a wonderful service for Olim to have a one-stop shop and to be able to find all the challenges there are with Aliyah to make it much easier. I consider myself, to be honest, an Oleh Chadash as well. I've only been here for 34 years, and as a result, but at the same time, I still consider myself an Oleh Chadash. There's still certain challenges. There's different things to get used to. Most of my conversations are still in English, and therefore it's important. And when we talk about an Oleh Chadash, someone coming to Israel, one of the major subjects that is a concern for them is the financial, and that's why I'm very happy for the opportunity to be able to. I often describe this sort of lecture, this webinar I'm giving as banking made simple, because it really is not that complicated. There are differences, and I'd like to, hopefully through my 10 minutes before the questions come, I'd like to represent a little bit of what you can get in a bank and what sort of give you a few tips, things that can help you going forward. But you know, I myself am the head of the English desk. I deal with all Anglo-speaking countries, whether America, Britain, Canada, South Africa, Australia, and others. And basically, my job is to help people to to introduce them to the banking services, to provide them with appointments, and something which I work together with Rafi and Lara to help people to introduce them to the right branches. Because one of the most important things with banking in Israel for Olim and foreign residents is that not every branch of every bank can actually facilitate and can open accounts for Olim Chadashim. There are only certain branches because there are different compliance and regulatory requirements, and therefore every bank will only have a number. Bank Mizrahi, and here I would like to introduce you. We are the third largest bank in Israel after Bank Olim and Bank Leumi. But when it comes to mortgages, we're the largest mortgage bank. We have maybe only we have 34% of the market share. The truth is today we have closer to 40% of the market share of all mortgages in Israel. But when it comes to Olim and foreign residents, we have almost 70 to 80% of the market share. Why is that? It's because we try to special ourselves to give services to the Anglo community. We have these branches that we have 24 branches all around the country that can offer services, and we have another 4 international private banking centers in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Netanya, and Ashdod that actually offer private banking services, a very personal service. And what is important for us is to make sure that you have someone to speak to who has actually experienced something you've experienced. Because majority of these branches are manned by Olim themselves, who have come in the last number of years. Because when you're dealing with finances, you want to build with someone who understands where you're coming from, who has the same tarbut, the same culture, the same case of sympathize. It's empathizing with the customer, empathizing so they can really help you and prepare you for going forward. If you can get me to the next slide, thank you. Okay, so what transactions can I do in the bank? Well, everything basically. I just gave an example. When you open a bank account in Israel, it's one bank account. I know that in America and in England, it's not unusual for you to open different types of accounts for different currencies, different types of accounts for different types of transactions, whether it's securities, whether it's deposits, current accounts. In Israel, or at least in Bank Mizrahi, and that's what I'm representing, we have one account. So it has current accounts, multi-purpose. There you can put their deposit accounts, shekels, and foreign currency. The issues are, of course, in Aliyah Chadash. And I don't know if people have spoken about it before, but it's not necessarily my side. But obviously, there's all the advantages of bringing money to Israel. With being a Aliyah Chadash, you have the 10-year ptur from tax on investments that are bought either in foreign currency or invested on stocks in Israel. In other words, if you bring your stock portfolio to Israel as an Aliyah Chadash, you don't pay tax at source at all. You don't pay tax at all on those. There's also mortgages, and I'll go into that a little bit in more detail. Short-term loans, car loans, personal loans, business loans, credit cards, and I'll explain credit cards a little bit later because a credit card in Israel is not as you actually recognize in the States or in England. Currency conversions, options and forward contract transactions, trade finance, online banking, of course, a very important part that we have. Today there's apps. The app we have in Mizrahi is actually in Hebrew, but the online banking is both in English and Hebrew, and actually in French as well. So you have actually languages which you can actually see all transactions online and the number of transactions you can do. The English site is not quite as forward as the Israeli site when it comes to online banking, but there are many things that you can still do. You can do conversions, you can do transfers between accounts, and as we are talking, things are being added the whole time. We can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, now if we talk about mortgages, I just want to touch on the mortgages because in 10 minutes, obviously the whole subject of banking is such a large subject. It's difficult for us to discuss the whole thing. But generally, if you look at if you're buying a property in Israel, how much of a loan can I get from the bank? If you're a foreign resident, which means you're actually still living abroad, you're not on Oleh yet, you can get up to 50% loan to value. And those 50% you can get, 50% is normally the second 50% that the bank will give you after you've put in your own finances. If you're an Oleh Hadash or you have an Israeli Tudat Zahut, you can often get a loan up to 75% of the value of the property. And that's one of the big advantages. There's also other advantages, but I haven't got really time to go into that now. The advantages, tax advantages as an Oleh. the types of loans. You can get loans in this country to up to 30 years. The loans can be personalized for your needs. They can be loans which can ask where you can have principal today and you can have interest at a later stage. Sorry, interest, I should say, go around. Interest today and principal at the later stage, I'm sorry. Or you can also have different parts where you pay small amounts. If you're a young couple, you have smaller income and you want to pay a smaller part of it back now, leaving a larger amount to pay later. That's also possible. All types of possibilities are there. You have variable loans. The actual interest can be variable interest, fixed interest, linked to the dollar, linked to the euro. And normally, if someone is interested in this type, they send them an application form, and on the application form, you basically describe your financial all your financial assets and what type of mortgage you're looking to take, and the bank can then look at what you're looking for and what you have as your ability to pay back, your hechzer, and they will be in a position to say what they can offer you as a loan. If we get to the next one, please. Now, these are two things I wanted to discuss. Credit cards. We spoke about this. These are things which are totally different. A credit card in Israel is basically what you refer to as a debit card, a deferred debit card. In other words, I know you're used to having a credit card where you basically use your credit card and at some time you either set up a direct debit or at some time in the future you pay off your credit card. In Israel, that type of card would not work, because if they rely on Israelis to pay back, they aren't used to that. The culture wouldn't work that way. And therefore, automatically, if you have a credit card in this country, automatically the following month, for instance, if I've used it the month of January, on the 2nd of February or the 10th of February, whichever date you decide, that will be a date when all your charges will be charged automatically from your account. And it's because of that reason because it's a deferred, because the banks are basically giving you a card which allows you to use it the whole month, they will normally ask, in most banks, they will ask you to put money aside to guarantee your facility. For instance, if you want a credit facility, you want on your card up to say 10,000 shekel a month or 20,000, they will ask you to put money aside, because once they give you the credit card, they are basically guaranteeing the companies to whom where you use the cards that they will pay up to that facility, and therefore in order to cover themselves, and that's something is different to what you're used to, because in a credit card in America, the banks aren't involved, and therefore they can just offer credit because they're not responsible for making sure the money is being paid. Tashlumim is something also which is quite unique to Israel, and therefore I want to spend that time because that's important to mention that when you in Israel, many times you go to a supermarket or you go to a furniture shop and you buy yourself a couch, a whole dining room set. And then they'll say, would you like to pay in tashlumim? Would you like to pay in payments? The important thing, and this is something which I believe is not so available in other countries. And the problem with this type of, and something you should be aware of, is when you have a facility, say for 20,000 shekel on your credit card, it's important to realize that if you decide to pay off a large purchase with payments in a payment schedule, that will take out of your facility. So for instance, if you've bought something for 20,000 shekel, and you have a facility 20,000 shekel, you basically use the whole of your facility up. And that's why it's important to recognize that. It's important, something to know. If I can have the next one. Okay, so that's me. Okay, there's a couple of points before I open for questions. I think is things I want to, a number of things which I think are important to mention. People have horror stories about opening bank accounts. Number one is, I'm here and I'm happy. Here's all my details. Please feel free to call me, to send me WhatsApps, to email me, and I'll be happy to answer questions. I'll be happy to also help them, introduce them together with Rafi and Laura to the branch or the bank which is appropriate for them. But besides that, a couple of other important points which I want to stress. Two very important points. Number one is that people say it's very difficult to bring money from abroad to Israel, and it's true. There are compliance requirements today. The anti-money laundering laws are very oppressive. However, if you take into account, it isn't difficult if you take into account two things. The banks just want to understand where the source of the monies are, where they came from, and sometimes they'll ask for either your your latest tax return, or they'll ask for an accountant's letter, which basically will show that, number one, you're paying tax, which is important to the bank to understand that. And number two is to see that where the source of those monies are, to understand whether it's from your investments, whether it's from salaries, whether it's from a sale of a property. These are the things the bank has to understand, because the banks need to understand those things. If you can satisfy that, then the whole transfer is not difficult. It's unfortunately the horror stories you may have heard is normally when people send money without providing documentation, and then there's always back and forth till the actual money can go into the account. That's number one. Number two, which is important, and I think I'd like to is important today. When you make Aliyah, you have all your documents with you, you have all your letters with you, and therefore it's important to bring as much money to Israel as possible today, because even if you're not, and even if it's invested in, sometimes it's invested in outside of Israel, to have it in Israel means the money here is available. It means that if one day down in 10 years time or in 5 years time, you need to take a large amount, you don't have to start searching for all sorts of information when you no longer have the facilities. You no longer have accountants abroad that are working for you. You no longer have lawyers that can provide you with information, and therefore it's worth thinking about bringing money. Besides the fact, and another factor is that Israel is today, once you come on Aliyah, you have to think in shekel. It's if you have all your money in dollars and the dollar suddenly devaluates, then you've lost a lot of money, and therefore it's important to recognize that that bringing money to Israel not only helps the economy here, which is also good, and helps the banks to provide jobs for people, but it also helps the person, more importantly, to have money available in the currency that they're living in. If I live in shekels and all my outgoings in shekels, I should have at least the same amount of money in incomings as well in shekels, and therefore it's important to take that into account as well. I'm open to all sorts of questions. Please take my details down. I'm happy to answer questions now, and I'm happy to answer questions going forward.
Thank you. So there's a question here about a branch in Ramat Bet Shemesh. I imagine you have quite a few. Is if somebody is an Oleh, can they open up an account in Ramat Bet Shemesh, or do they have to go to another center?
Okay, so that's a good question. It's a very interesting question, because there is a branch in Ramat Bet Shemesh. At the moment, it is a mortgage branch alone. However, I believe in 2025, the plans are to make that into a normal branch also for opening accounts. So whilst it isn't necessarily available today, there is a branch in Bet Shemesh which can open accounts for Olim, which is in Shah Ha'ir in Bet Shemesh. But the Ramat Bet Shemesh branch at the moment is a mortgage branch, but there are plans to change that into a Mischari branch for all transactions.
Okay, great. Yeah, the question actually was about Bet Shemesh, so it's good to hear that you have one there. And I think, the information that you shared is really helpful, because the process of dealing with the banks isn't as cumbersome as people expect it to be. I have my bank in Mizrahi, and if I want to speak to my banker, I can call the number, and if she's available, she'll answer. And another thing is that you can message the banker, and you can message in English. The banker might respond in Hebrew or can communicate in English. Many bankers can. And so it's just a very simple and easy way to communicate with the banker is through the messaging system. And of course, having Johnny as a contact helps, because sometimes you just don't know who to go to. And so if you have any questions, if you need anything, then you can definitely reach out to Jonathan or to myself, and we'll be happy to help you. Let's see if there's some other questions.
There are a few questions here about if you can open an account from outside of Israel. I'm assuming they're asking as foreigners.
Okay, so I didn't actually, because you gave me 10 minutes. I actually didn't get to that point, but I'm delighted. What they say is a good question. Is a question is this is an excellent question, because there's a question I will have a perfect answer for. So that's why it's an excellent question. The truth is that most banks do not allow you to open accounts outside of Israel. However, because we try to be the friendly bank, we try to really. Well, Bank Mizrahi is one of the few banks that actually do allow you to open it. And how do you open it? We don't have branches. We have a branch in London where we can actually facilitate people who want to open through London. But we also, if you live elsewhere, if you live in the States, then today you can open an account by a power of attorney. This is not a trust account. This is account in your names. And the names are Rafi and Mrs. Shulman, for instance, just in your names. You're not obviously not Rafi's name, in the customer's name, in other words. But they would need to sign on, if they're American, they need to sign on 4 documents. If they're not non-American, they sign on 3 documents. The extra document for Americans is a W-9, which you all are, I'm sure you Americans are all aware of that document. But those 4 documents you sign in front of a notary and a apostille, which is not that complicated today. Most notaries are well aware where the apostilles are. And basically you sign on those forms, you then send them to Israel to your power of attorney. One of the forms is the power of attorney form. And that power of attorney will come into Israel, into the bank, and they can arrange it with me. And I'll arrange, and we will open the accounts for the person, for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, for instance, whoever in America, in their names. And that will be an account where they'll have a power of attorney who will be on the account until they choose to take the person off the account. They may, it's actually a very good idea, by the way, Laura, and I'm pleased you raised that question, because it's a good idea for someone planning Aliyah to actually set up an account prior to the Aliyah. And then they can, once they make Aliyah, they can change the account to an Oleh Hadash account. It's the same, everything with the same numbers and everything, just be the status of the account will change. There's a need to come with, once they receive their Tudat Zahut and Tudat Oleh, they'll come with those documents to the bank, and they will change it from a foreign resident account to an Oleh Hadash account. But everything else will stay the same.
Great. There's a question here about opening up an account if you're not an Oleh, but I'm not sure if it's referring to residents of Israel. It might be referring to residents of Israel who have not made Aliyah. So there are a number of people that are living in Israel that haven't made Aliyah, but they're residents. Is that something that somebody can open an account?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be, I mean, since they have only a part, say they're an American who's, I mean, there's many people like that. There are many kolelnikim, many people in yeshiva who spend many years in Israel and don't necessarily change their status. And we open accounts with their passports. They'll be, for instance, say it's an American boy learning in Mir Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. They'll open the account as an American, and often they pay tax. I mean, the tax points. Often, many of them, if they get Tuach Lumi, then they're connected to Israel, depending on how many years they spend in Israel. But yes, absolutely, these type of people can certainly open accounts, and it's a sort of a quasi foreign account with, depending on how connected they are to Israel. Whether it's considered a foreign resident account, or whether it's actually got Israeli ramifications as well, from a tax point of view.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Then there's a question here about how long does it take to open, actually 2-part question. So the first part is how long does it take to open up an account? And the second part is if you aren't making Aliyah for a few years, can you open a bank account as a foreigner if you own a property in Israel? So you own property in Israel, but let's say you're an American or Brit, how long does it take to open up an account, and would it be considered a foreign account if you own property in Israel?
Okay, so absolutely. So let me relate to the. I just have to remember both your questions. I remember the second one. The first one was, remind me. The first one was,
how long does it take to open an account?
Thank you. So right. So the truth is, the process, it depends. If you speak Hebrew, then the process is a little quicker, because then the banker doesn't need to actually sign you on English forms as well. If you're not comfortable in signing only on Hebrew, then they would need to also sign you on English forms as well. And the process takes between an hour and a half. I mean, the way we set it up is we would set up a meeting for the client, so he knows he's coming to the Pacific branch at a particular time, and he has to know that he has to make sure that we will tell him beforehand which documentation he needs to bring with him, and he has to take into account that it will be anything between an hour and a half could take to open the account. It's a one-off thing. You don't open an account more than the once, so it's worth taking the time and making sure it's opened up properly. But the only reason we need to do it in English, and of course, all the branches offer English or documentation in English, because we won't expect a customer to sign on things he doesn't understand. But if he needs both the English and we would then need to put it through the computers, it takes a little bit longer. And that's the question number one. Question two was the subject of opening accounts before you have a property in Israel and you're foreign resident. Absolutely, of course. That's a lot of the work we do. A lot of people are opening accounts as foreign residents. They could receive rentals on their property, or they own a property maybe, and they just want to. A lot of people are doing that. Absolutely, it's a lot of the work I'm doing today is people who have not yet made Aliyah, who are actually saying, look, I would like to make Aliyah sometime in the next number of years, 3, 4, 5 years. And actually they say, look, I am actually a firm believer that I believe in Israel, and I believe that please God, we're hopefully coming out of this war, and Trump hopefully will start continuing his project of the Abraham Accords and start making even more countries doing business with Israel. And therefore I wouldn't be surprised if the shekel strengthens, because we've already seen it strengthen. I mean, during the war it went up to 4 against the shekel, against the dollar, sorry, and now it's at 360 and almost close to 350. And I wouldn't be surprised, because and therefore people are saying that even those people are looking in the future to buy property in Israel, all properties are bought in shekels, and therefore it's worth their while possibly already building up a shekel portfolio. So yeah, absolutely. If these people want to open an account today as foreign residents in lieu of a property they wish to buy in the future, it may be prudent for them to think of actually holding shekels in an account, so they have monies available to purchase the property in a couple of years' time.
We have a question here. Somebody that has an account at Morgan Stanley, and they
Yes.
want to know if they can open up a Morgan Stanley account here in Israel, and it applies, of course, to other financial institutions like Schwab, TD. So can you explain to people what's available here, and if somebody has assets in one of these financial institutions, what do you recommend that they do?
Okay, so that's a good question. In America, in the Morgan Stanley, they work more with brokerage accounts. In Israel, the system is different. Most of the banks are themselves brokers, they have their own brokerage within the bank itself. So you can transfer the money into you have investment advisors, different companies, many companies like Morgan Stanley, like Fidelity, all this that's money that look after your money for you. You can open an account. You can open an account and have a stock and share section in it, which you yourself manage. You can also have a managed portfolio, and there are many. There's the banks. Most of the banks work with numerous, if not 50 or 60, and sometimes even more, different types of brokerage firms that they themselves will if you are not financially savvy enough to be able to invest yourself, they will invest on your behalf, and of course they'll take commission for that. So you can open that type of account. So one can certainly move monies from these banks, and you can get, and in many cases you can get I believe as good a service. I also think that, because as referring to what I said before about managing your monies according to your outgoings as well. And mortgage company like Morgan Stanley and Fidelity, they are used to dealing with the local market and in dollars, but they don't necessarily have taken into account the shekel requirements, the shekel outgoings. So sometimes moving some or part of one's assets to a local broker here, they can take into account your shekel requirements as well, and it can make it a little bit more connected to your outgoings as well as your incomings.
Got it. Okay, I think just looking at the clock, I think we're reached our end. So Jonathan, I want to just thank you again for joining us tonight. I know that there's a lot of questions here that we haven't gotten to, so I really would encourage you to email Jonathan directly, set up some time to talk to him, or email. He'll be happy to answer your questions. And for everyone that's joined us, it's been a pleasure having you here throughout this webinar tonight. And just stay tuned for upcoming webinars. We do plan on doing this on a regular basis, and our goal, as I said before, is really to provide you as much guidance, support, and information as we can, either directly through Olim Advisors or through our partners. So thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night. Have a good week. Be well. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everyone,
My
for
pleasure.
joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone.